When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk, people.
Welcome to an edition of the Make We Talk program. This evening we're going to speak about the Jamaica's debate competition, local government debate between the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. That will be at 9 o'clock. But in the meantime, until now, to the start of the debate at 9, we're going to speak about security. I have with me Major Robert Finzi-Smith. We have other people going to join us soon. I also going to have with me at 8 o'clock, pollster Mr. Don Anderson will come on and tell us about the polls for the local government election. Will it be the People's National Party leading or is the Jamaica Labour Party leading? We don't know. Today, over the skies of Jamaica, over the Parliament of Jamaica, we saw a very unusual situation. Well, I shouldn't say situation. Well, an unusual flyover of some helicopters. And it begs to ask the question, is the helicopters belongs to the Jamaica Defense Force or those helicopters were from the United States government? This afternoon, tonight I'm going to have with me Mr. Robert Finzi-Smith to tell us what is his views, what he think the helicopters were there for. The JDF personnel on the ground who was speaking to the news reporters said that those are from the Jamaica Defense Force. But others are saying that it seems as if it's from the American military. Others are saying it's from the British Army. We cannot see what is on the helicopters itself. We want to see the flyover. And it looked very, should I say, suspicious or unusual to see helicopters flying over the opening of the Parliament. I know they have security in place for ceremonial opening of Parliament and for the Parliament itself. But when you see something like that, you ask questions. So Smith, I'll send you the videos, sir. I'm going to play the videos in a couple of minutes. But your views, what is your actual views when you see something like that, sir? I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you, Sir Smith. No. Go ahead again. No, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I have to go out and come back in. I don't know. But I'm not hearing you at all. You're hearing me, but I'm not hearing you. And your mic is not muted from this end at all. Not hearing you at all. Not hearing you at all, Sir Smith. I was hearing you earlier when you came on, and all of a sudden, not hearing you now. Not hearing you at all. Maybe you have to go out and come back in, Sir Smith. I don't know. Let's give us a minute for us to reconnect with Major Robert Finzi-Smith, security consultant, security analyst of the a retired major of the Jamaica Defense Force. We don't know what's going on there. We are going to speak about the flyover of some helicopters, 2 helicopters over the Parliament of Jamaica this morning in the ceremonial opening of the Parliament. I don't know what's going on. So, Smith, we are not hearing you at all. We're hearing something from your end, but we're not hearing you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear from Negril Point to Moran Point now.
Okay.
Yes, your views on what the video you saw today.
As far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen it before.
Yes.
I can't recollect this being part of the ceremonial opening of Parliament. So I don't know what to say to you. And to add to it, the type of helicopters are unusual for our type of air wing.
Yes.
I don't know if I haven't kept up with the times, and we have acquired these. I don't know. And to correct part of your introduction, I'm not a
Yes.
retired major.
Oh.
I am a major in the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force. I'm part of their training
Okay.
battalion.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the correction.
It's unusual. Added to the fact that these are looked upon usually as troop-carrying helicopters.
Yes.
When you say helicopters like that, it usually means there are troops going to be carried on.
Let us play this video for the benefit of the viewers that did not see this. Let's play this video here, Sir Smith. Of the ceremony opening of the Parliament. Let's play this video here.
General has arrived and will precede him into the chamber.
Yes, indeed, met by the police commissioner. Very lovely in a powder blue dress. Always fashionable, always sophisticated, beautifully attired.
And of course, as she makes her way into the chamber, there are some greetings and forms that need to be attended to. And we follow her into the chamber. There are protection detail, all making their way into the chamber.
I think preceding her there is the deputy clerk to the House.
The deputy clerk to the House. I believe that would be
Miss Colleen Lowe.
Yes, and she joined the staff of Parliament as deputy clerk in May 2022. And Miss Lowe is a barrister and attorney at law with more than 10 years of legal experience. There's a great deal of qualification in our House of Parliament.
For sure, the level of expertise that we have in our leaders is unchallenged, really, and it's something that as a country we ought to feel very proud of. We have leaders and officials who not only have the experience but have the expertise.
That's right.
To back it.
What are we seeing on screen?
Okay, so whenever events like these take place, we have to have a presence of security from all angles.
Yes.
Some of which I can't tell you about.
That's all right.
Some of which include support from the air and the Marine Air and Cyber Command Brigade, MAC, and that what we saw were 2 of our air vessels.
Understood.
Okay, and it means that we are getting closer to the arrival of the Governor General, and once he gets here, we will have.
Sir Finzi Smith.
Yes, sir.
You heard the member of the JDF speaking to the news reporters that those are 2 helicopters from the JDF Air Wing.
I didn't hear the interview. What exactly was said?
When they asked the person who was there with the the news reporters from the JDF, he said to them, those are some security measures they had in place that they can't speak about. But those two helicopters are from the JDF Air Wings.
Okay. From the JDF Air Wing.
Yes.
I confess to being behind the times.
Yes.
I don't know when we acquired these, when we were trained on them. I don't know any of that.
So based on all that you just saw, sir,
Mhm.
we don't know what is it all about. But
Mhm.
based on what you just saw, sir, those helicopters are for rescue missions and deploying troops, eh?
Yes. They're troop carriers.
So is it, well, let me not, I'm speculating here. Is it that those helicopters will be deploying the troops into Haiti?
I don't know what their
And why would they flew over the parliament to show our powers, our military powers? That's what that are to protect the PM or the GG.
I don't know, sir. I just think it's a rather
Unusual situation.
it's an interesting show of force.
Why would you say something like that?
You have a whole set of soldiers in ceremonial dress lined up with rifles, as they usually are for the opening of Parliament. And then overhead comes two large troop carrying helicopters flying in a controlled pattern across it. It is unfortunately open to speculation. However innocent it may be, added to the fact that these are hitherto unannounced acquisitions, if they are ours.
A lot of people are saying tonight that, and the funniest thing, we haven't seen any close-up of the helicopters to say if they're in fact the JDF helicopters.
It's a little difficult to say they are until you see Jamaica flags on them.
If that is the case, Sir Finley Smith, is it that the government knows something that maybe the public don't know?
It is possible.
Pipe bombs gone missing. Assault rifles is alleged in the country with bullet piercing,
Armor piercing bullets.
armor piercing bullets.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate some more? Go ahead.
Have you looked at the other side of the coin?
What other side of the coin, sir? Go ahead.
It could be our payment for assisting in Haiti.
Good. That's true.
In order to assist us to assist them in Haiti, they could have given us the equipment with which we can use in Haiti.
But are those helicopters, you have to be well trained to fly those helicopters, sir?
Most helicopters you have to be well trained to fly.
Yes.
But our pilots throughout the years have never been short on expertise.
Because they have been continued training and so forth on those.
You have pilots throughout the years that have left the military and gone into airlines and ended up being captains of the big airliners. So we're not short on talent when it comes to flying airplanes.
Boy, but a lot of people, so Smith, it's all over social media, because when I saw it, I was bringing the opening of the parliament, and I have been doing it for years because I love to listen to the opening of parliament. I've never seen something like this in my entire life.
I think you have company in my disbelief as well.
Never ever seen something like this. And based on
The
all,
more skeptical amongst us will consider it to be an intimidatory show of force.
or listen to this. This is what I'm saying. I don't know, if it is not for, if those helicopters don't belong to the government of Jamaica, is it that the United States may have flown those helicopters over the parliament to send a message?
US don't send messages like that. That's a little too overt for them. If you now put it together with ships being seen in the close
Caribbean
quarters
water.
of our waters,
Yes.
and I think there was something on social media about somebody seeing a submarine and they sent in the pictures. If you add up all of those movements, it could add up to something.
Yes.
But I care not to speculate.
That's true, because it doesn't make any sense we speculate and we don't know the actual facts of what.
And they say that when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
True. I'd like how we're on security for now, and then we're gonna switch over to the whole debate of the local government election coming up soon. Let us speak about the security. As I see, we're in, the Prime Minister is saying that crime has gone down in how many parishes, and it's all over social media. It's on his Facebook page where they have crime go down in Westmoreland, crime gone down in Hanover, crime and everything like that. You're on the grounds in Jamaica. You believe the crime situation has gone down of how the politicians are putting it? You're a security expert, Princess Smith.
Lest anyone think otherwise, it's water. Let us just say, with recent and not so recent occurrences of shootings and fatalities,
yes,
that's a little difficult to swallow. There's a song, Rita Marley, that says, "Who feels it knows it, yeah."
Yes.
And if somebody in the United States government thought enough of it to send out a travel advisory, what is the government saying? That they are telling the US that they're making mischief? Because I don't think they hand out travel advisories willy-nilly just because somebody woke up this morning and didn't like the smell of a coconut tree.
Yes.
So something guided by figures and intelligence reports. I must remember, that certain agencies in the United States that we watch on the TV and take for granted have been here for a while.
A very long time.
People stationed here. So it is these reports, not newspaper or what do you call it, social media, that they are being guided by. They have intelligence people who live amongst us. Maybe the guy that sell you a coconut jelly on the corner and talk like him come from St. Elizabeth could be a member of the CIA.
True.
They're that well trained.
And
whatever reports they're getting from these people, their people on the ground, has made them feel that it is best to issue this travel advisory.
And even today or yesterday, I heard about 3 people got shot in Westmoreland.
Yes.
And I keep on asking the question, then if people are being gunned down left, right, and center, how can they be saying that the crime is going down? Something that adding up, Sir Francis Smith.
It is not. They say liars figure, but figures don't lie.
And in the hype of the local government election, they're on the campaign trail, both political
Mhm.
parties on the campaign trail. One is saying
Mhm.
that, the crime is not going down, and one is saying the crime is going down. You're trying to figure out who to believe.
For the people who have lost loved ones or gotten injured, you don't have to ask them who them believe. And I think there are more of those affected who may not have had a direct loved one, but know somebody who has been affected. There's
Yes.
sufficient numbers of those to cause them concern. What will probably happen if the government is not careful is that people will feel that you're trying to samify them and take them the whole. I don't know if you remember this whole time saying, you take me for kunumunu.
Yes, I remember it.
So they, the public, are seeing one thing, and what is happening are coming out of their government's mouth is another.
True.
And maybe, sorry, as somebody reads a report that says crime has gone down, somebody gets shot on the corner around from them house.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out, do they really count? How does the JCF tally the figures of people being murdered in this country? How?
Should be from reports. Every station must give a report as to how much violent crime takes place on almost a daily basis in their area.
Yes. So with this local government election on us now, Sir Finzi Smith,
Say that
what do
again?
you with this local government election on us now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying that crime is going down? What
Mm-hmm.
do you think the people of Jamaica is saying to themselves? And what do you think, are they going to vote for a government that is saying the crime is going down? Or are they going to vote for opposition that is saying the crime is not going down?
I'm not a pollster, far from it.
Right, I understand, yes.
I just have a little bit of experience
Go ahead.
and a fairly good memory. And I believe we have been here before.
Mm-hmm.
This is when, just before PJ Patterson's term. And essentially, if you remember at the time, Mr. Siaga came out with this famous quotation:
Mm-hmm.
if I don't win this election, God is sleeping.
I remember hearing that.
And he lost it badly because there were a number of Jamaicans who just did this
Fold their arms and decide not to go to the polls.
and just say, okay, oh, when he says election again, I come. And they go and them dip them finger and them go to them yard and sit down. No big furor, no bun, no tire, no bun, no house, nothing. And when the figures were tallied, the silent majority had spoken.
Mm.
You see,
And
I keep bringing up this point. One of the condemnations thrown at the People's National Party is that it was in power for 18 years.
yes.
They never elected themselves. There was a reason why they were able to get 18 continuous years of power.
Mm.
What you may or may not say they have done or not done with it is one side, another argument. But let's not forget that they were elected to 18 continuous years in government. Something made the people say, turn us a little bit, make way. And they have been hoping to rise that duppy from the grave
Mm-hmm.
to apply it the other side of the coin to the People's National Party to say, our turn to be 18 years now.
And do you think that that would happen?
Considering the level of discontent currently being heard from all quarters,
Yes.
I would be a little surprised.
Mm. Do you think?
When,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
when
ahead.
that happened, Siaga was said to be the albatross around the neck of the Labour Party.
Mm.
And what is being done by the practitioners of the spin doctors
Yes.
is to try and throw that burden at the current leader of the opposition, trying to say, PAP can't become government as long as him in charge. And again, history is repeating itself quietly for those of us who know the history. This attitude has happened before,
Yes.
where a gentleman called Norman Washington Manley
Yes.
was put up against Bustamante. Now listen to the criticisms and see if them fit anybody you know.
Mm-hmm.
He was a brown uptown man, spoke properly, and didn't come from any ghetto area. Didn't have the charisma and the public appeal of Mr. Bustamante. Bustamante was said to be ready to wipe the streets with it.
Mm-hmm.
And him didn't know how to connect with people. Too quiet, too cool, too gentlemanly. And people were wondering, where you go find this brown uptown man come lead the PNP?
Mm-hmm. The people of the Vumbavon, the
A lot of people
Vumbaveen.
don't realize, that Norman Manley never formed the PNP. He was asked to come and lead it. O.T. Fairclough formed the PNP.
Yes.
And in spite of all these criticisms, Manley win. It is Manley's attitude to statesmanship, which Bustamante would never have done, is that when the argument about federation came up, he put it to a referendum. And when he lost the referendum, he could have stayed in power until he turned up and then called election. But he called immediate elections to say, well, if you didn't agree with my thoughts on that, let's have a general election now and call it judge.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost that one. It's like a landslide. You started losing in the referendum, it's going to continue losing there.
Yes.
Some people will tell you that what he did was the act of a statesman, not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
So the statesman-like behavior didn't serve him well. But be that as it may, another story for another time. But there seems to, just my opinion, not a political choice or whatever,
Yes.
just telling you facts. The Labour Party in opposition is a dangerous animal. They'll block roads. They'll burn down things. They will do everything, civil unrest, say stuff that will incite civil unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Very much in the way that their founder and thing Bustamante would do. The People's National Party in opposition don't really do that. So they're regarded as being docile. You think about the things that people complain about today as we speak. And imagine the PNP being in power and the Labour Party being in opposition. And you tell me what you think would happen.
The PNP, well, the Labour Party would have done worse. In other words, they would have started a vibrant opposition and start speaking out.
Speaking out is not the problem.
But
It's
maybe
inciting
organizing
people
themselves.
to do stuff.
They'll organize themselves in a way that maybe we'll have civil unrest.
Every now and then, roadblock. Man says he can't go in the hospital because there's no bed to sleep in.
So Finzi Smith, why the PNP so silent and all those things? You touched on a point a while ago that if it was the Labour Party in opposition and the People's National Party in government and people going around showing videos of people sleeping on the the cardboard papers and motor tires and all those things in the hospitals. They would have blocked roads because I remember in the 1990s when PJ Parties was in power and the gas riot. You remember the 1990s gas riot under PJ Patterson? How is it that
I was on
same-
the streets.
There you go. I was blocked. Actually, I was in a motorcade from we coming all the way down.
Yeah.
I couldn't
What
go
I'm
left,
trying
right,
to
or
say
center.
to you is, let me give you my analogy. Two men go after the same girl.
Yes.
One seems to have her for a longer time than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And him decide that enough is enough. So I'm acid her. Confident in the fact that him know a really good plastic surgeon.
Yes.
So when the lady say, I've been acid and I can't look good anymore, I need somebody to help me. And the other man say, I know a good plastic surgeon. I can help you. So she goes to that person because him know a good plastic surgeon.
Yes.
Totally ignoring the fact that it's him organized for her to get acid in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The other man decides as much as him love her, him not damaging her to get her. You understand the analogy where I'm going?
Yes.
We in Jamaica seem to feel that unless you want to burn down the country, you're not a good opposition.
Oh.
Unless you are on the tip of inciting people to riot, you're not a good opposition. Remember, as an opposition, when you incite to get the place, is you going to charge it,
Yes.
So the less damage there is to the place, the better it is for you.
Mm-hmm. Hold on there for me, Finzi Smith. For those who are just joining us at 9 o'clock, we'll go live to the debate. At 8 o'clock, anytime soon, we'll be having pollster Don Anderson coming on the program to speak to us about the polls going into the local government election. So we're just having a forum now leading up to the debate. I have with me Robert Finzi Smith speaking about the security of the country. We're gonna have with us Luke George Cook coming on, Garfield Reed, and also pollster Mr. Don Anderson will be coming onto the program anytime soon to speak to us about the polls going into the local government election. You're saying you're speaking about the People's National Party versus the Labour Party when they're in opposition and in power. Continue, Sir Finzi Smith.
Yeah. And it's not my opinion. It is there for everybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
When people keep pushing for action on the streets and bonfire and the rest of it, and if they can get the current party out of power, they consider it worth them while.
Yes.
But now, who going to fix the road you mash up? Who going to rebuild the house them you burn down?
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to fix the tourism dollar deficit that this action of yours has brought about?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I find the tourism argument fascinating. Hello, Don, how are you? I find the tourism argument fascinating.
Yes.
Because we need to take a stock of how much of a tourism dollar remains in this country.
Yes.
So what are we really protecting?
Mm-hmm.
Because for every US dollar that the tourism owns or earns, how much of it stay in Jamaica?
That's a good question. Very good question, Finzi Smith. And we're going to segue from that now into the polls. I have with me Sir Don Anderson, Executive Chairman and Marketing Research Limited. Sir Anderson, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Well, yo.
It's local government election fever in the land of wood and water, Sir Don Anderson. Give us
Boy.
some figures of what going into the polls now, sir.
Well, as you know, we have 228 different divisions that are being contested for. And well, the two major parties obviously are in the race. And there are a number of independents who are either from one party that has defected to the other or the other way around. So it's a very interesting environment right now, eh? And you would believe it's a national election
Yes.
rather than a local government election because there's so much hype around it that, boy, people are saying this must be a general election rather than a local. There's never been so much hype and noise around a local government election in my memory. And obviously, there's a good reason why we haven't had an election since 2020, and we haven't had a local government since 2016. It has been postponed a number of times, and as a result, people are, I believe, I wouldn't want to say anxious to go to vote. They've never been anxious to go to vote in a local government election, but I think people are being prepped and are probably keener to vote than they have been in previous local government elections. So we've been doing a lot of polling. We've done a lot of polling for the last 8-9 months in a lot of constituencies and divisions and so on. The national perspective is that the elections are heading to be close.
Yes.
How close? We don't know. And I say we don't know because we measure the national sentiment at a point in time. But on election day, that is really what counts. How many people are able to go to vote? How many people change their minds on the day of voting? How many people are influenced one way or another to vote or not to vote? And whatever other challenges take place or come to the fore on an election day are the issues that you have to contend with that will determine who actually wins the election. But we have a very good indication as to what the public pulse is at the moment.
Yes. So tell us now, Sir Don Anderson, with the polls, did you do a poll pertaining to if the Labour Party will win this one or the PNP will have a landslide victory? What is the balance going into the local government election?
I do have that data, but as one of my clients is awaiting the release of that or is pending, they will be releasing that in a couple of days' time. So the most I can really articulate on your program right now, Jeff, is that it is likely to be a close election because both parties are treating it as a general, and I believe the government is treating it as a referendum on their stewardship. And as a result, both parties have gone quite a distance in trying to convince persons to go out and vote for them. How it pans out on the day will be dependent to a large extent on the ability of the respective parties to get their voters out in time, and certainly in the numbers that would make the difference.
How many seats do you think the both party will take up in the local government election? Do you think the PNP will have maybe 5 to 1, 10 to whatever? I don't know. What is the views on that? Do you have any polls on that? Are going too deep into that part?
No, because there are 228 divisions being contested for across the parishes. All right.
Yes.
And one would have to do a series of those 228 to be able to make that kind of determination from a numeric perspective. All right. And we haven't done that, but we have done a considerable number of individual constituency polls and divisional polls. And there's some areas, of course, that you kind of know what the predetermined result is going to be in some of the so-called garrison communities. And therefore, you can add those up to the ones that you have done. And all indications are that it could be a close election. Nationally, we have done maybe about a dozen polls since 2016. And in 8 of those 12, the Jamaica Labour Party has had a fairly substantial lead. In the last year of polling, when we have done about 4, such national polls, the People National Party has had a slight lead. And therefore, the trend data is really the most critical determinant of how an election might go. And therefore, there is justification for saying, on the basis of the 6 that favor the Jamaica Labour Party between 2016 and 2022, and the 4 that currently favor the People's National Party, that it is likely to be a close election.
Yes. Sir Finzi Smith, you have any question for Mr. Anderson?
He's a good friend of mine, so he won't have difficult ones for me.
I'm not hearing you at all. Nothing. You're gone again. I don't know what's going on.
Something to do with my thing. And
okay, go ahead now. Yeah, I can hear you now.
What has happened essentially is that Don can't say what you want him to say. He has a client to which he has a confidentiality agreement signed for a specific period of time that he cannot bring up your numbers by putting himself in line for a lawsuit. Am I correct, Don?
You're perfectly correct, but I don't think the lawsuit is on because
I understand fully. No.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you what.
You go ahead.
Unscientific feeling is.
I like to hear these.
There's something in all races called momentum. And when somebody gathers momentum and keeps momentum closer to the finish line, all trends seem to go through the window, because when the momentum builds up, people don't have time to answer it. The Labour Party, in my opinion, having touted their prowess and they're ahead here and they're ahead there and ahead everywhere, have indicated that they have entered the home stretch looking over them shoulder. And the momentum now is coming from the opposition party on the basis of, we're tired of this. You could have talked, you could have tell me what you're going to do, you could have tell me anything, but your track record in terms of delivering on promises hasn't made me feel comfortable. So let me test somebody else for the time. You go sit down right there. I don't think they will get wiped out. But I don't think that they are going to get what they hope they will. When you find the leader of a party finding himself in remote areas of the country at 12 midnight to try and bolster support, something wrong. Don't say he mustn't walk around, but in a lot of ways, this has become Mr. Holness's election. It's not the kind of, I dare you to name me any local government candidates. Few people don't even know who they be. Because Mr. Holness has gone out and made this not so much a referendum for the people he leads, but a referendum for him and his leadership. And there are certain things that are hanging around his neck like an albatross. The mysterious 6. Every day you hear about somebody who take what them shouldn't take. When you just thought you had settled into the pattern of, okay, let's deal with these who are supposed to have taken something, you suddenly hear that 4 vehicle missing from Maritime Union.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are supposed to have been responsible for it are attached to some government office or the other. That don't gender much confidence. The other thing is, we have forgotten who really vote in this country. Essentially, when you look on the numbers, the current government could be construed to be a minority government. There's at least 80, give me the numbers, Dan. I don't have them on my fingertips. There's about 80%, 70 some 80% who never voted.
No, if you want to go by the last national election in 2020, the turnout was 27.84%, which means that you had just over 62% who didn't vote. I guess what you're really heading towards is that if you break that down, that 37.84 between the two parties, then you have maybe no more than 20%, there about 22% who would have supported the current government in office. But that's how the electoral process works. What you need to worry about at that stage is the extent to which democracy is being eroded by virtue of the voter apathy. But as you talk about voter turnout, the indications from all the activity that you just spoke about are that the voter turnout for the local government election to be held on February 26th is likely to be higher than it was in 2016 when it was last held. And that's for a number of reasons, some of which you have pointed to, but primarily because no local government election has been held for 7 years, going 8 years now. And there have been 3 postponements, so that there has been some degree of need. But over and above that, as you pointed to, there have been a lot of activity prior to a government general election that is unprecedented for a local. Unprecedented, both parties. And as a result, there is, and my data is suggesting that the turnout could be 38%, and depending on the activity over the next 10 days or so, could be 40%. Which should be a massive improvement on that 30%.
Not just an improvement, I go further. The turnout could be larger than the last general election.
But if it gets to 40%, it certainly will be 2 percentage points above that. So, we wait on February 26th to see exactly what that turnout is likely to be. But I have no doubt it's going to be higher than it was in the 2016 election when that turnout was 30%. That's because there's so much activity surrounding this current local government election. And also the fact that it has been on the lips of people. It's been postponed 3 times. And there's been a lot of discussion around why it hasn't been held. So people are a little bit more anxious. It's also been held just over a year prior to the next general election. And previously, one of the things that has dampened the turnout in local government elections is that they tend to be held closely after the general. So having gone through the rigors of a general election,
people have got to a trend.
You see? Right. So now it's been held 3 years after the last general, in which the turnout was rather low, and a little bit more than a year ahead of the next general. So it's in a way uniquely positioned to attract more people to the voting booths on the 26th of February.
Can I ask you something, Don?
Sure.
Somebody once told me years ago that when a government is in power, a low turnout suits them because it means that there's not much change going to come. A higher turnout is not a good idea for the people incumbent. What do you say to that?
That's a theory that I know has been bandied about. Generally, they say when people turn out in large number, this is get rid of the incumbent. And when they don't turn out, it's because they're so apathetic about what's taking place that they're not going to vote. And generally, the people who stay away from the polls are the persons who are not necessarily in support of the government. So in a sense, that theory is one that has been bandied about. And I think maybe in 1 or 2 elections has been justified in terms of the turnout for those elections. Now, when we're at a low of 30% and you get a 10% push, it may not be the same kind of situation. If you had a 50% turnout and then another 20% turnout, that's a high voter turnout, which means that clearly there's some level of dissatisfaction and people are in fact turning out to vote anti the incumbent. So when at 30% is the base, 40% is not necessarily the same situation. It's probably not a parallel. But in principle, they say a high voter turnout generally favors the opposition. In principle.
Without betraying any opinions one way or the other, do you think that the people, like I said earlier before you came on, when PJ Patterson got elected, I saw it happen. It was dead quiet. And they went to the polls, dip them finger and go home. And the results were startling. What I'm looking at is that there's almost a dead silence in certain places. Like, they're not going to tell you what they're going to do. Them just come, do it, and go to them yard. There is a sort of apathy. And you have very pro-People's National Party people will tell you that the only time the Labour Party win in an election is when PNP don't turn out. I think that is born from the say, oh, it's PNP country, rah, rah, rah. But
the reality is
that if PNP, you see that PNP don't turn out, Labour Party win.
Well, I like to, of course, talk from the empirical data. And a point that I've made publicly generally is when you look at the turnout in the 2011 election, which the PNP won 42 to 21, you had close to 460,000 persons voting for the PNP as against about 304,000 voting for the Jamaica Labour Party. You fast forward all the way down to 2020. And in 2020, just about 304,000 people, in other words, 160,000 less than voted in the 2011 election for the PNP, then turned out for the PNP. But the numbers for the Jamaica Labour Party grew by about 4,000 votes. So it may support your point that one of the major factors that contributed to the massive defeat of the PNP in the 2020 election was that deficit of 160,000 persons at a time when the JLP support grew 4,000. But if you look at the representation in Parliament, in that 2011 election, the PNP had 42 to 21. With a fall off of 160,000 persons thereabout. They have 14 seats compared to the 42 they had.
Yes.
2011. So the data does support a point that you're making about the loss of the support for the People's National Party being a major contributory factor to their massive defeat in the 2020 election. And that's the empirical data which everybody has access to.
And my thing is, I agree with you wholly and totally. Who can organize to get their voters out early on election day wins.
Right. Again, it supports the view that, and it's a point I've made consistently, that, we do the polls and we do a lot of polls and we have a really strong track record in terms of the polls we do. But polls don't determine who wins an election.
No.
Absolutely not.
Polls help you to build your momentum.
Right. And it does give parties guidance in terms of how to strategize and what to say and what message to deliver, etc. But in the final analysis, you're quite right that what happens on the day of election is really what counts. How well oiled the machinery is, or you're able to get the people out by virtue of your campaigning and your canvassing that you do prior to election, and on the day, the extent to which you're able to motivate your people, who you have by hopefully convinced to go out to vote, or you're able to go out and cast your ballots in your favor.
Let me ask you this question, Sir Anderson. How many, with the age bracket, do you believe that the younger set of Jamaicans will come out and vote in this local government election, or the older set will be more promptly to go out and vote?
Traditionally, the largest segments of voters are reflected in the 35 to plus age cohort. The age group that is least represented in terms of a voter turnout is 18 to 24. And all indications from all the polls that I have done this year suggest that that pattern is not going to change.
Wow.
Not going to change. I've done enough work
18
in
to
the
24 don't have enough history for them to form an opinion.
not only that, you see, when you look at the issues that feed into voter apathy, it's really a turn off on the political process to a large extent. All right. People don't want to be engaged in politics. People, by virtue of what they've heard, just don't feel that there needs to be a connection with politics. And as a result, the young persons who are coming into the fold, I talk to a lot of them, in addition to the data that we have on a regular basis, because every single poll we do, we capture the voting intent by age cohorts, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, up to 65 plus. And in every single one of them, almost bar none, the indications are that the persons who are likely to go to vote are persons 35 and over. And the persons least likely to go to vote are the persons 18 to 24. That's standard.
That leads into the old Jamaican saying, young bud don't know storm.
Well, whatever the reason, but I just alluded to a couple of them. There's just a turn off because they don't see politics as an attractive enough venture, and they don't see that politics is likely to benefiting them in the shortest run or in the longest run. So they're just not
the greatest march ever stolen on one party to the other is the one stolen by the JP on the PNP, where every time they do something that's not too right, they lead with the dialogue that says PNP do it, and most people just believe them. It don't have to be true, but them just run. Well, PNP used to do it. They don't give you an example or anything.
Yeah.
I'll give you a very typical one. Under the laws of Jamaica, trafigura was not a crime. All trafigura did, in my humble opinion, was emphasize the need for campaign donation legislation, which neither party has seemingly attacked with alacrity. Makes one wonder. What trafigura happened here had nothing to do with our laws or anything, is what happened in their country. We'd be surprised as to who give what to who. Because who pays the piper calls the tune. And I leave this point with this, and I beg your indulgence, Dan. You don't have to.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I believe that if you walked out on a platform and said to youngsters, anybody who want to represent you need to live in your constituency. So when the water go, them not no water neither. When the light go, them not no light neither. And when the road bad, them can't get mashed up too. Youngsters would sit up and go, really? Tell me more. Also, we should use this new constitution attack and tell people that if you get elected as a member of parliament, you cannot be a minister. It's a conflict of interest. Go represent your people. Go get them water. Go get them roads. Go get them electricity. Hire people who have the expertise in the various areas that you need administered. And when you fire them, if them don't do anything, it's not political fallout for you. But as it stands now, if you fire a man in charge of a ministry because of non-performance, next time your leadership comes up in the party, he may not be inclined to support you. Am I making any sense, or am I sounding revolutionary?
Well, you are sounding revolutionary. Doesn't mean you're not making sense. Right?
But I think we should take the opportunity now with this new constitution talk and insert things that make sense.
Yeah. I think there's no question that there needs to be a fresh look at how we measure the performance of members of parliament and councillors. There's no question about it. And I think it's an appropriate time now that we're having so much talk around performance ratings and, in a way, measuring promotion by performance, that we should bring our respective representatives to book in terms of how they perform and whether or not they are in fact delivering what they're expected to deliver, because they are in fact the representatives of the people. So I hope that in the constitutional reform discussion that is taking place, that these are some of the things that are being considered. So
I don't see much of it, which is why I'm cussing.
well, the truth of the matter is we don't quite know what's being considered quite often.
And
All
we
right,
are
and as a
supposed to be
matter of
the
fact,
ones who are being asked.
yeah. So that I believe is something that needs to be looked at very carefully, so that we can tighten up our legislation, we can tighten up the accountability of respective ministers of government, members of parliament, and indeed councillors. There's no
And
question
we
that
should
that is a
start with the
necessity.
local government elections by saying you can't run for a division or whatever unless you live there.
Yeah. Well, part of the when you look at the performance rating of councillors, for example, in all the polls that we have done, and I indicated that I would imagine we probably have done about, I don't know, 50, 60 or more individual divisions, and several of them several times, that one of the downsides when you ask people to rate the performance of the councillors is that people say that we don't see them enough. So that it probably feeds into what you're saying, that people believe that the council should be more present. Whether they have to live in the particular division or not is another issue. But that the visibility is something that is of major concern, and
It's
one of the
supposed to
reasons
be
why
part
people
of the
vote.
qualification to run for the office. You're running for
Absolutely
this
right.
section, you must live there.
Well, that's something to look at for sure. I think what would be really important is for the people to see them and to feel them. That is, see them actually working in the particular divisions, which to a large extent would redound to their benefit.
But we can save money not done. If them live there, we don't have to pay them traveling.
Consideration.
Let me ask you this question, Sir Anderson. Based on the polls that you do, how many Jamaicans are concerned about the crime, the healthcare, and education?
I think they not only from the political polls that we do, but from we do another study which consistently measures people's reaction to the level of crime and violence. Actually, we do two sets of studies, because we do a business and consumer confidence study, which we've been doing for the last 22 years. Every day, we're in respective communities doing that poll island-wide amongst businesses and consumers. Both businesses and consumers cite crime and violence as the number one deterrent to greater productivity and greater safety, clearly. Both businesses and consumers. Then we have also done a number of studies on corruption. We recently reported on one that we did for National Integrity Action, and that coincided with the release on the corruption barometer by Transparency International. And in all of these, crime and violence, corruption is rated extremely high on the level, on the list of things that people are concerned about. So yes, these are big ticket items as far as the general public is concerned, and amongst businesses as well, because they believe that these are factors that inhibit one's desire, one's ability to perform at a different level. All right, and that's probably putting it very general, but these are big issues to the general public, big issues.
And do you think because those are big issues will deter people from going to the polls?
It might make
I don't
people
think
go
so.
to the polls.
I think in previous years, the level of intimidation certainly was much higher. You know, we single out 1980, for example, as a standout year, but there have been other elections. I think where we are right now, I think the electoral office has done a very good job in terms of sanitizing the whole process. And I don't think intimidation of voters is likely to be even a serious issue of concern for the electorate going into the 26th of February elections. It hasn't been for a while. I don't expect it to be. And I'm not saying it probably doesn't happen, but the incidence is certainly pretty low, and one would not expect that to be a factor going into this next election.
So, Finzi Smith?
As usual, I'm out of the box. I would set up something in the future that say, whether general or local, you cannot wear party colors to go vote. You put on a white shirt and you go vote. When you come back, you put on your party colors. When you don't arrive at the polling station, your party colors.
Mm-hmm. We lost you, Sister Smith. What's going on? We lost the audio from you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
I'm saying I believe we should put in legislation and say you can't vote in your party colors. You arrive at the thing in a white shirt or whatever, and you go vote and come back out. When you come back out, you put on your party colors and go about your business. That way, you don't have to worry about intimidation. You're an anonymous person, and when you go and come. And people will feel more inclined to do what them conscience lead them to rather than the pressure of somebody says, see a labor right there. See a comrade there.
Except you know that
simple and
when you
stupid,
get behind the
stuff works.
no, it's not stupid. But when you get behind the screen, that's a different matter. So
Yes.
regardless of what colors you wear, I mean, you know, the big issue is how you actually mark your ballot when you're behind that screen.
Yes.
And I don't think necessarily that if you wear orange, you're necessarily going to vote orange, or if you wear green, you're necessarily going to vote green. People have been known to make up their minds right behind the curtain, irrespective of what kind of external pressure they're brought to bear on them. So, you know, I don't know if the color of the shirt would really matter that much. But
it depends.
see where you're
What I'm
heading,
saying is that it might remove the outside intimidation.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that intimidation is a major factor. Hasn't been for a while.
These days, no.
And happily so. So I don't think that we need to go to that extreme. I don't think it has been. No.
So, Jeffrey, I can't stay much longer with you. Don, nice seeing you again.
Same here, Robert. Same here, man.
Arrows of unjust accusations. Just do what you know you do and do it with a clear conscience and you're good.
That's my whole purpose, to be honest with you. My whole purpose. So I listen to the criticisms and thing, and I don't ignore them. But in the final analysis, I make the point that I don't really care who wins. My job professionally is to get the data and get the data in the most professional manner and report it as I have it.
And I would like to say in parting, you have always had my deep admiration because regardless of how unfortunate the news may be to whoever is employing you, it has never deterred you from telling them the truth.
Thank you very much for that.
Needs no rehearsal. Is what them do with the truth. That's up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Rob.
Thank you, Sir Francis Smith, for coming on. Thank you so much.
Stay safe. Don?
All right, Rob. Take care. All the best.
Will do.
Man, cheers.
Sir Smith.
Not
Sir Smith. Sorry, Sir Anderson rather. Sorry, Sir Anderson. The police and JDF going to vote before everybody else.
Right.
Have you done a polling on those to see how many will go to the polls or will not go to the polls, and if you know?
No, we have no data on that, to be honest. We have never thought about doing that, to be honest with you. And you know, it's probably something to look at in the future, but we haven't done any such work amongst the security forces who go to vote early. But I'm always amazed that people can tell me somewhere shortly afterwards how they voted. You know, people said, "Oh, well, you know, the police voted so weird," but I don't know. I don't have any. Apart from doing exit polls, which we haven't done, we really don't have any record of how they have voted.
Tell us here in the diaspora and who are listening and watching from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean, how do you go about doing your polls, if you don't mind me asking? How do you do the polls? Because you have some people saying that Mr. Anderson does poll, but I haven't seen him in my area, and you know, people are, I mean, how do you do your polls?
I can't really tell you how I do my polls. I can tell you, I can give you a response to questions such as those or concerns that people have expressed.
Right.
First of all, we use what is called a nationally representative sample of voters, persons 18 years and over. And we stress the point about national representativeness because in any survey we do, and first and foremost, I am a market research professional and less so a political pollster. However, since the political polls are the noisiest, that's what is projected as my profession. I am really a market research professional. So political polling is about 5% of my entire business. All right. Outside of that, we use the same principles that we use in our general market research surveys to conduct studies, using generally a nationally representative sample of persons. But the key factor in sample design is the representativeness. If the sample that you choose in a very scientific way reflects the population from which it is chosen, in other words, it's highly representative, then what is more important than the size of the sample is the representative nature of the sample. So we use a sample size generally in the region of 1,000 persons, 1,050, 1,100, 1,200, so on, in order to make that kind of projection from the 1,200. Now, when you interview 1,200 people in a population of Jamaica's size, what does it mean? From a population of 2.8 million, it means that 2,799,000 persons don't get interviewed. Plain and simple. So it is easy to understand when you hear people say to me, which they quite often do, friends of mine up to today, a very dear friend of mine said, "How come I never got interviewed yet?" Well, that's one of the reasons, because 99% of the population doesn't get interviewed in a nationally representative sample. Now, which is another reason why countries around the world do a census every 10 years. Because you can never do a census more than every 10 years because of the cost involved. Even today, we are having massive problems conducting a census. I mean, we've been maybe working on it for a year, and the fieldwork is not yet complete. Bottom line is you have to therefore work from a sample that is representative of the overall to be able to project that upwards to the total. Now, the fact of the matter is that you don't need to interview everybody to be able to know how the country thinks, but you need to ensure that whatever sample you design is representative and reflective of the overall. When you need a large sample is when you want to measure some minute subset of that population. So, for example, if you want to know how men within Kingston think or how they're likely to vote. Now, a Kingston sample in a 1,000 overall sample would probably be about 230 interviews. Men would probably be about 110 of that 130. Now, if you want to break that down by age groups, now you're talking about 15, 20, 35, and so on. Now, what you're dealing with at that point is what is called the dynamism of small numbers, because the sample is going to explode when you get to those numbers. So, in theory, a sample needs to be large enough to give prominence to the smallest subunit you want to analyze. So if somebody comes to you and says, "Boy, I really want to look at how men within a certain age group think and how they are likely to behave," then you need to know, you therefore know that your sample needs to be much larger than that 1,000. But in principle, if you have a nationally representative sample and you don't want to disaggregate to the point where you're looking at 18 to 24-year-old men in Kingston, then a 1,000 sample proven statistically would give you data which is within plus or minus the actual, up to a 95% accuracy level. So you're 95% sure that the data you get is within plus or minus 3% of the actual. And that's the theory of sampling. So it explains why I would run into people in all walks of life, in every parish in this country, and say, "But I never get interviewed yet." And the point is that I make a facetious comment. Sounds facetious. Somebody else spoke for you. Because if your opinion is so unique, I'm going to make a statement, it's really not all that important because we deal in percentages. So a unique number like 1% really doesn't count. That is in statistical terms. In a human sense, of course, everybody's opinion counts. But in a statistical sense, that 1% is really, I mean, you never win an election with 1%. Exactly. So that's the theory behind it. And you know, the principle we use in polling is the same as we use for surveys we do for the World Bank, which we do a lot of, for commercial banks that we do a lot of, for corporate entities that we do a lot of. So here we go. And we've been in the business for well over 40 years.
Wow.
Doing the same thing. Doing the same. All right.
So Anderson, have you ever thought about doing a polls with Jamaican in the diaspora, their views and somebody sitting in the parliament and their views of voting from overseas?
We have actually done studies in the diaspora, not enough. We have been asked to do studies amongst the diaspora, and we have done. The specific issues have not necessarily been our own political issues. But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that we're quite au fait to do more polls amongst the diaspora, and we do have the capability to do so. We just that the focus has been largely here. But again, you know, just for your viewers and your listeners, we need to make the point that whilst our focus is in Jamaica, which is our base, we have done a significant number of political polls in at least 8 other Caribbean countries on a consistent basis. All right. And I recall just in being approached by some people in Antigua recently to do some work. I'd never worked along with this particular individual before. And I felt it therefore important to say, well, do you like me to send you a dossier on the company? And the gentleman said, no. Said, you're very well known in Antigua. We don't need anything from you. You can't tell us anything we don't know about you. In principle, that was a quote unquote. And I thought that was good. But we've done a lot of work throughout the Caribbean, and we've done, you know, and we're happy that our track record speaks for itself.
Yes. Yes, sir, Dan. Okay. When because a lot of Jamaicans are saying in the diaspora that I've you know talked to and everything, that they want to vote. They want a seat at the parliament, a seat in the parliament. They want to start voting from overseas. Yes, I know it has to be something done in the parliament where they amend the constitution to allow Jamaicans to vote from overseas.
Right.
And you know, a lot of people have been asking. I wonder if Mr. Anderson will do a poll to see how many Jamaicans really have the idea in the back of their head to vote from overseas.
It is something that I'd like to do. And I think, you know, once this election blows over, I think we'll probably want to focus some attention in that area. I believe there's been a lot of activity recently from the diaspora, and it shows that the diaspora is in fact keen to participate more in what is happening in the country. And of course, there's a theory that maybe not more than this theory, that there are as many Jamaicans living overseas as are living in Jamaica. So that would represent a significant percentage of voters from the diaspora. So I believe that this is something that would become more and more a pressure point for whoever leads the country going forward. And I believe that certainly the persons in the diaspora are making their voices heard. There have been a number of protests recently, and I believe it all augurs well that people overseas should be given the opportunity to vote in national elections. St. Kitts is a classic case in point where there's a very high incidence of voters from overseas in St. Kitts who turn up on election day to vote, to the extent that there have been rumors about plane loads of people landing on the day of election and going to vote and returning to the country 3 days later. So, you know, more needs to be done more evaluation needs to be done on that particular situation. But I know there's a pretty high incidence of external votes or some Kittitians who live overseas and who come in on the day, flying plane loads on the day to vote. So it's an issue that I think we should consider as a country. The diaspora, I know, and we've been reaching out to the diaspora more and more. And the diaspora, I believe, wants to play a bigger role in what takes place by casting your vote. So it's something that I believe should be looked at, is my personal opinion, should be looked at from the constitutional reform that is currently taking place at this point in time.
There's a debate coming up tonight. Debate between the two political parties. and then the general election. I'm gonna allow you to hold on for me. I think I have somebody coming on here. Yes, I have my good friend Lion. Lion?
Blessings, blessings, blessings.
Yes. So Lion, I have with me Sir Don Anderson, one of Jamaica's well-renowned pollster, well-respected all over the globe.
Thank you.
I think his name and his title and his efforts precedes him.
Thank you very
Indeed.
much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir Anderson,
Tell me.
your views on the debate tonight. I know I call it to talk about polls, but your views, your individual views, take off the pollster hat and put on the other hat now. Your views on the debate for tonight, going into the local government election.
Yeah. All right, generally I say to people, my opinion doesn't count because I'm looking at it always from a professional perspective, and I like to talk from empirical data. All right.
Go ahead.
But you ask my opinion, I think debates are always very useful. I think it was unfortunate that in the 2016 election, when we last had a big to-do about debates, that I think it was unfortunate that one party chose not to debate, because I think that's a way in which you can more and more people at once can hear through formal media and other media what their parties are in fact talking about, what are the messages that they're conveying, what they want to do, what they plan to do. And I think a debate is always an essential part of every campaign leading into an election. So it's unfortunate that it didn't take place then. I think it is a very good idea that we're having it at the local government level, because a lot of persons don't quite know what are the responsibilities and obligations of a municipal council. So perhaps the debate will provide the opportunity for the persons debating on either side to articulate these kinds of positions and to inform the general public much more about what their responsibilities are, and then hold them to the book afterwards as to did they really perform in line with what they said they would, And I think it's a good idea because there's so many divisions in a local government election, 228. So when you have an opportunity for two debates, you get the benefit of maybe some kind of concerted opinion and views and pledges and promises coming from, because we're getting a lot of that, coming from both parties. But at least it gives the public an idea and an opportunity to dissect a little bit more what are the issues on the table in a local government election such as this. So I think it's a good idea. We hope that we have persons who can articulate well on either side, so that the general public will be much better informed at the end of these debates.
But don't you think it is? Maybe I shouldn't even ask you this question, but I'm gonna do it. Don't you think it is really what should I say, bad that majority of our people don't understand the meaning of local government election? Is it that we didn't do enough to educate our massive about the political situation in our country?
Well, the reality is, and we find that in polls that we do, that there's a significant chunk of Jamaicans who don't quite know what are the responsibilities of a local government council, a municipal council. One of the questions that we have in the poll that we just completed, and which is to be released, I believe, as of Sunday on both TVJ and the Gleaner, we've asked persons how they feel about specific responsibilities that we have identified for them as being part of what local government is about. And we have asked people the extent to which they believe that local councils are performing in this regard. And the information, which I can't reveal ahead of time, is very interesting.
Lion, you have any question for Mr. Anderson? Because we have to swing over to when the debate starts. We have to go live to the debate. You have any question for Mr. Anderson?
I would be amiss if I lost an opportunity to ask. The question. The question is, in light of the regular political atmosphere that has permeated Jamaica. Uh, does the debate really serves the purpose that it should, like in cases like in first world countries like the US, etc.?
I think a lot would depend on the quality of the debate. I mean, if the participants, if the debaters come out and they really are on top of the game and they are honest with each other and they articulate, I believe it will enlighten, it will enhance, and I believe it would be a good thing. All right, but if the debate quality is not what it is, then I think it's going to be a turn off to a lot of people.
I would well imagine.
Yeah. So a lot depends on the quality of the debate. But I think the concept of the debate is a good one, a very good one. And we hope that we will have the quality to actually support the concept. Because then I think it will be a good bind. Because there's another one coming up, I believe, in a couple of days' time. And I anticipate that if people are pretty happy with the debate tonight, that you probably have more persons turning up and watching and listening to the next one, which I believe is on Saturday.
And if I might add here quickly, I think what we are used to seeing in Jamaica is politicians, I should say political leaders, because they are the ones that we are really watching, are so used to pandering to the base, preaching to the choir, that they lose that skill and appeal to really have a debate. You know, speaking to persons that are understanding exactly what they're doing, whether they're gerrymandering or filibustering in whatever sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a possibility. That's a threat to a good debate. So we just again we hope that first of all that the moderators, the moderators who are asking the questions, do ask them the kinds of questions that will, bring out the quality, bring out the information that we need, that will be enlightening and educational. I hope so, because
I tell you,
there was a previous debate, I believe, and one member was accused of answering questions that nobody was asking. No, we hope we don't have anything like that.
No, and that's a big hope, Carl.
Yeah,
that's a big hope.
Yes. And quite often they do that because they're not in a position to really articulate in frank terms what they ought to. So we just hope that the quality is good. I'm really hoping. I've looked at the participants, and tonight's debate should generate, I believe, some pretty interesting responses and positions, because I believe the quality is there to give us a good debate tonight. And so we hope that comes out and we don't, it doesn't degenerate into a political cuscus as to who will do what.
Yeah,
and so that would not be what we want.
We share the same hope.
Yeah, I really hope so.
I don't know if it's a hope in near Constant Spring, or I don't know.
I don't know.
Sir Dan Anderson, one of Jamaica's well-renowned pollster, a person who is respected, I would say, around the Caribbean and indeed the wider world. Someone who I know I can call upon to come onto my program, and if he's busy, then
he'll short notice. At
short notice, yes. At short notice.
But that's what been able to come along.
Yes. If he's busy, he'll say, Jeffrey, I'm busy, I can't come on, or I can come on. And I hope that come election night I may get a little 2 minutes or 3 minutes out of him to come onto the program here come election night, because we're gonna have the coverage of the election, local government election, here in the Mecca Talk program.
Where are you beaming to?
I am beaming all over the place.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm beaming in London, in Germany, in Belgium, all over, in South Africa.
Okay.
So, a lot of Jamaicans all over is watching.
All right, great.
Yes.
Good for that. All the best on your program then. And we hope we can carve out some minutes on election night. I'm sure that my regular client will probably have first call on me, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Pleasure again. All right.
Yes, man.
I know. Take care. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Sir Dan Anderson there, that come onto our program here to speak about the polling in Jamaica. He's one of Jamaica's well-renowned pollster. And, you know, it's good when they can have a person to come on and speak to us. Lion, you still there with us?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to leave studio now.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thanks much.
Okay. All right, God.
There we go. We have we just had Mr. Anderson come on to our program here. Program come on in a time soon. We're just waiting on them to come up with us. Sir Lion.
Yes.
Tell me something now. We don't have a couple minutes leave to talk about the polls. What do you think about local government election? Because what you come on to speak about, I think we have to speak about that next time because the debate coming up soon. What do you think about the election coming up, Lion?
It's funny that you should have asked me that. I don't know or the time would really navigate me into this position, but hey, I know Jeffrey, so all kind of things can happen. Right. So yes, you know, as this election, this local government election coming up, it is going to serve the purpose. I don't know if it's going to be as well. It's going to be as accurate as a Carlstone polls.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I see it as. Just to say, we told you so.
Mm-hmm.
That there is a collusion. That the whole thing is orchestrated, and where Jamaica is just going to get more of the same.
Mm.
So we're going to you can actually tell what is good because there's no viable administration and there's no viable opposition.
Mm-hmm.
They actually cancel out each other. The only thing that saves them, the only thing that saves them is the fact that they all enjoy garrison communities and people who they can coerce to go vote. And so they have a turnout of sorts, but it's going to be the same thing.
You're on the ground in Jamaica, Lion. What do you see? So, what do you see going on down there?
It's dead in comparison to past years that I have seen while I was in Jamaica, right? I mean, so that means you're talking like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, right? The ones that are out there are the ones that directly have them hand in the kitty, or close to the man or woman that have them hand in the kitty, or who have obligations because them get something from out of the kitty already, whether it's fertilizer or seed or something, or you know. Nevertheless, that's a small crowd. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing that national enthusiasm. A lot of persons are afraid to voice their opinion because they hold opinion like most of us that come on these kind of platforms and express, which is not normal because it's not a party line. So they will try to avoid any type of discussion that would lead along that path. So it's not like one time Jamaica people sit down in a bar and talk politics or in a barber shop. And, no, go. Anytime you go to a bar, they're going to talk according to which party ruling. If you go to a barber shop, it's the same thing. They're going to hear the argument according to the party ruling. You do not have that freedom of expression where, you know, competing views. You know, I don't know if you ever saw it if you're old like me, because you're a young boy. Right? But that's how it was. That enthusiasm is gone. It's gone now.
Yes.
Totally. Are we ready to start or what?
I think we are ready to start now, Lion. We're going to go to the debating contest going on.
Yes.
Just want to get some audio clipping here going in.
identifying, clarifying, and understanding the issues being presented in this local government election campaign.
I might have to
This
leave you
evening's debate
in about 5
focuses on
minutes.
local government policy issues and is in the form of a team debate. Our two teams
Yeah, Jeffrey.
tonight are for the JLP, Charles Sinclair.
Jeffrey,
Yes, Lion, I hear you. Go ahead, no problem.
I might have to leave you in about 5 by 5. All right?
Venetia
Go ahead, no
Phillips.
problem. Go ahead.
And Richard Craig. And for the PNP, Dennis Gordon. Natalie Nita Garvey. And Alan Bernard. Members of the panel of questioners are Janet Silvera from the Gleaner and Giovanni Dennis from the RGR News Center. I'm your moderator, Janella Precious. The guidelines for tonight's debates have been previously agreed and are posted at JamaicaDebatesCommission.com. The guidelines include that questions cannot be longer than 30 seconds. Each team is allowed 2 minutes to answer each question, and rebuttals are limited to 90 seconds. The moderator will have the latitude to raise follow-up questions for clarification only. Questioners are only allowed 2 follow-up questions to their primary question during the entire debate. Follow-up questions will be permitted at the discretion of the moderator. Where a follow-up question is asked, the team to which it is directed shall have 1 minute to answer. The other team is allowed 45 seconds to respond to the answer to a follow-up question. And where a follow-up question is asked, it shall not be interrupted, or rather, it shall not interrupt the sequence of questions posed to the respective debaters. The questions posed in tonight's debate are created solely by the panel and are not influenced by the Jamaica Debates Commission in any way. And in order to involve the wider public, we will be taking questions from social media, and these will be managed and presented by Nika Lewis from CVM TV. You can send all your questions to us via direct message on Instagram, X, and Facebook at Jamaica Debates. All social media questions will be presented to both teams for the answers. You can also view the debates being streamed live on the Jamaica Debates Commission Facebook page. Now, arising from a coin toss earlier, Team PNP will make the opening statement, while Team JLP will make the final statement at the end of the debate. And now, the 2-minute opening statement from Team PNP.
Thank you. Members of our viewing and listening audience at home and abroad, members of the media, panelists, my opponents, good evening. I want to say a special good evening as well to those electors who have not yet decided what they will do on the 26th of February. I am hoping that after tonight's debate, you will decide to vote for the PNP. I also want to make sure that you understand that the PNP has always believed in local government. We are the party that believes that local government is what drives national development. We believe that the citizen is the best and most important unit that forms our national landscape. And as such, this grassroots movement, born out of the bowels of our working class people, we have always put the citizens first, and we have always made sure that our policies and programs are driven by the citizens' needs and their demands. In the 1990s, we developed the local government reforms. A PNP government did. And that reform process is still the basis and foundation of which our local government still operates. During 2012 to 2016, we laid the 3 strategic laws, and those laws were to be able to allow for there to be a modernization of local government. But 7 years, 3 months And 4 postponements later, we have still not seen the regulations for those laws to be enacted. We also want you to tell you tonight that change is coming and that we are going to be leading that change. And that change is to have a better development for communities, change for better access and accountability, so that we can have better local governance for our people of
Thank you
Jamaica.
so much. Let us now hear 2-minute opening statement.
Good night, Jamaica. I wish to thank you for joining us at this debate. And you will see the presentations of Team Jamaica Labour Party. And you will determine from this debate that we are the better choice for Jamaica. The Jamaica Labour Party is a proven performer. The Jamaica Labour Party has achieved much at the central and local government levels. We have improved the quality of life of Jamaicans. And many of these achievements of this party, this administration, was done without the imposition of new taxes from 2017, a tremendous achievement in itself. From the perspective of local government, we can look on achievements, and I will list just a few in this opening. In respect to roads, we have rehabilitated, fixed the roads that lead to your home, over 2,500 roads. And can you imagine when the Spark program, that $40 billion program announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, comes into fruition, your community roads will be dealt with, and dealt with effectively and to your suit and satisfaction. We have improved the fire service by the acquisition of over 40 new fire trucks. We have improved the garbage collection service with the acquisition of over 100 trucks. We have employed, through the Youth Summer Employment Program, over 50,000. And I submit to you that we are doing our best. More to be achieved. Vote for us come February 26th. Vote Jamaica Labour Party. Put your X beside the bell. And let us partner to build you and your community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our first question tonight comes from Janet Silvera, and it will be directed to Team PNP.
Good evening. Should the direct election of mayors be extended beyond the Portmore municipality as other corporations? And does a recent Blue Dot poll revealing that 49% of respondents are unaware of their mayor not raise questions about the relevance and effectiveness about those who hold that position?
Thank you. It is clear that Team PMP and the government then in 2001, when we embarked on the consultations with the people of Portmore, and it was through their determination, along with the government at the day, that there should have been a directly elected mayor. We believe in the directly elected mayor, and if we had not lost in 2007, that process would have continued. The truth is, at the end of the day, it is something that we are going to be continuing because we understand the importance of giving the citizen his voice and being able to directly elect their own mayor to serve their own mission.
In addition, we want to make it unequivocally clear that citizens' participation is important to local governance. And that statistics that you would have mentioned suggests that people, the citizens of this country, do not engage with the process. This administration, the JLP administration, has single-handedly and intentionally gutted citizen participation from the local governance process. A prime example is the way in which the national parish development committees have been gutted. The CDCs have been neutered. SDC itself has been emasculated with political interference. And that has been one of the key reasons why you have not been seeing the levels of citizens' engagement. All these mechanisms that have been placed in the Local Government Reform Act have been neutered by this JLP administration. a PNP administration is ready to make those changes, is ready for citizens' engagement. We are the party that has been at the forefront of citizens' engagement in the local government process. This has always been the case.
Thank you. JLP, your rebuttal.
The Jamaica Labour Party is definitely not averse to directly elected mayor, but Jamaica, over 20 years of pilot, and the PNP is still talking about when they get into office, they will go ahead with directly elected mayor. Yes, we on this side believe in engagement, we believe in performance, and we believe in communication. The model in Portmore has not worked. As we said, we're not averse, but we, of course, intend to engage with the people, follow up with the action that is affirmative and representative of the views of the people. Unlike our friends on the PNP, it is not what we believe, but what you believe is in your best interest. That is what this Jamaica Labour Party government is committed to.
I'm amazed to hear my friends on that side speaking to the fact that if they won in 2007, they would have done certain things in Portmore. But they forgot that they won in 2012. So they had ample time to correct whatever they see as wrong with Portmore. The PNP is just talk, no action. We, on the other hand, we have demonstrated that we are better managers of the economy, both at the central and the local government level. And when you vote for us, we will continue to work on your behalf, building for you and your communities.
Giovanni, thank you so much. Giovanni has the second question, and it will go to Team JLP.
Good evening. Neither party has presented a local government manifesto to the electorate. In 2016, former mayor of Mapen, the now deceased Milton Brown, said in this very room that within 3 months after if the JLP won, that a manifesto would be provided. Yet here we are without a clear, written and published roadmap by which the public can judge you, the both of you. What do you say to Jamaicans who find this as insulting?
The Jamaica Labour Party has in fact completed its manifesto. The publication of that manifesto will be made available soon. The reality is a manifesto is not a static document, it's a working document. And so you referenced 2016. We have to remain current and conversant with the issues of the people of Jamaica. And so the consultation has taken place and the manifesto has been completed and at the appropriate time will be made available to the people of Jamaica.
I would just like to speak on something that was sent by Team PNP. They mentioned the Social Development Commission. The Social Development Commission was underfunded by the PNP when they were in government. They were given from central government, from the Ministry of Local Government, a mere $10 million outside of their budgetary allocation. Since 2016 and Minister Mackenzie taking the reins of government, the Social Development Commission has been transformed. Last year, $148 million was provided to the Social Development Commission. The Social Development Commission led a local economic sustainable development program where over 13,000 Jamaicans were given training in business and provided with funds to whether assist them in the business they are in or to develop a new business. The PNP cannot speak to the SDC. They have done nothing for the SDC. But on the other hand, the Jamaica Labour Party has transformed the SDC, and the SDC is all over Jamaica in the various communities, developing the communities, building for you and your communities through local government and through the SDC.
Team PNP, your rebuttal.
Team JLP is beer fluff. Let's examine the fact. The funds you spoke about was created by a disciplined approach by the PNP administration of 2016. So I'm happy that you can talk about performance and money spent, but let's examine the fact. The last 7 years, what have you done? You have been in power 13 of the last 17 years. So what more do you expect or anticipate if you are not delivered? I will use a cricket jargon. If you are given a wicket to bat on, you need to score runs. You can't blame Team PNP for not scoring runs. So you pinch a single here, you pinch a single there. It is difficult to talk about $40 billion when you inherited that from Team PNP fiscal management. The space was created by us, and so you are now enjoying the benefit of that. I make no apology. What you know inherit is a quick Team PNP work of art under the leadership of Dr. Peter Phillips. I have no apologies to say. You talk about performance, but let's chronicle the performance.
On the issue of the Social Development Commission, Jamaica Labour Party has a practice of making grand announcements, and
All right. So the question that Giovanni posed is, where is your manifesto? So we've heard from Team JLP. It will be published soon. Where is your manifesto?
Our manifesto is completed and will also be published soon. But there's more to a manifesto than just words and promises.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to take a question now from social media. And Nika, what do you have for us?
So our first social media question this evening: what are your party's plans in relation to the development of sustainable infrastructure in rural communities, to include focusing on lack of piped water and deplorable roads?
I will invite Team PNP to answer first.
Firstly, we are presenting tonight to the people of Jamaica a contract as to what we will get done. 2% of GDP to fund local government is what we're proposing. 2% of the current GDP will give you $20 billion, of which each municipal division will have $87.7 million to do more for its citizenry. We have been starved of cash. We have been starved of policy. And we're saying that as a progressive organization, we put people at the center of what we do. And so with more resources, we better be able to address your roads. Our roads are in the worst condition in our history. Our garbage is not being collected, and nothing has been done for mitigation. So a new PNP administration will get the requisite funding from central government to undertake the cost of providing the critical services.
It is our plan as well to ensure that there's going to be accountability at every level. And so we are insisting that there will be a divisional development fund for every single parish council division across Jamaica. A divisional development fund which will be similar to the constituency development fund, where there will have to be a development plan for each division. And that development plan will have to come with the scrutiny and consultation required to include participation from the citizens. It is important that we stop treating local government like the poor cousin. It's important that Team JLP understands that what we consider to be the vital part of our development must be at the local level. The street lights that I hear recently being spoken of, that they have been mismanaging for so long, paying for street lights that we don't have, is an indictment and a failure of this Jamaica Labour Party government.
All right, thank you so much. Team JLP, your rebuttal.
The Jamaica Labour Party does not just talk. We are about action. And when you look on what we have done in respect to the creation of the development orders right across Jamaica, we have set in place how development should take place in the particular spaces that they take place. But we move beyond that, and we look on what has been put onto the ground in areas in Hanover, deep rural Hanover, Chambers Pen, where you are seeing a complete development plan for that area, which includes developing the water systems there. $250 million is being put in to develop the water system in Chambers Pen. When you look on a rural part of St. James in Flower Hill under rural water. We have invested over $100 million to get sustainable water supply into Flower Hill, a community that has hundreds of residents, a community that has been without water for 30 years. The Jamaica Labour Party has used the resources wisely. We are building communities. We are going to continue to build communities, build Jamaica in a sustainable way.
If I may add, the Jamaica Labour Party has recently announced a $40 billion road program, the Spark program, which will be fixing community roads over the next 2 years. Each constituency will have a minimum of $150 million. I never knew that even in my lifetime, a government of Jamaica could spend $40 billion without borrowing like my colleagues on that side.
All right, thank you so much. Things are definitely heating up here in studio, so we now take a break and invite you to stay tuned.
The Local Government Debates 2024 are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen,
We're going to take a break from the local government election. We will be right back with local government coverage right here on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us what you think about the debate so far. Let I make something clear right now. I do not control the volume coming into us. I know it's very low. I don't have the control of the volume. What do you think about local government election so far? What do you think about the debate? We're gonna have a discussion on that pretty soon. But for now, we're gonna have a live coverage of the debate, a live coverage of the local government debate 2024. Who will come out on top? Will the Labour Party members who are team JLP and come out on top, or will the team PNP come out on top? You know, we're gonna ask those questions as soon as we get back from the break that they're having. We're gonna go back live to them, and you know, we're gonna talk about the debate. We go back live to the debate, I presume. Do we? Yes. Do we? No, hold a while. Then we're gonna go back live to the debate. I see some I see some people hatching up the chat room so far, and saying that, you know, some of the people are not talking, and it's pure lies they're telling. You know, it is good for us to exercise our rights to freedom of speech. Stand by for the live feed from the Jamaica Debating Commission Local Government Debate 2024. Today is February 15th, and it's 9:24 right here on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We do this for you. We're going to bring the election coverage for you live. Also, I see where my video is freezing up, but you know, we're going to work on that soon. I have my producers working on that too. Don't go anywhere. We're going to go back live to the debating between the local government election, the debaters between the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. The Jamaica Debating Commission Local Government Debate 2024. Yes, a lot of people asking questions about the 1 point something trillion that has gone missing. You don't hear nothing from that in the throne speech given by the Governor General today. You hear nothing about that. But, you know, so many things you don't hear about. But yet the country still goes on, and Jamaicans from all walks of life have been asking questions. The Jamaican people, it's time for them to ask questions themselves. To ask questions about SSL. They must ask questions. But of course, the Jamaican people are not asking any question at all. What they do is to sit down and say, I ban ya. I'm a Labour, I'm a comrade. We're going to go back live to the debate. Okay. Okay, we're going to go back live to the debate. Just a moment. We're standing by to go back live to the local government debate 2024. And of course, this is put on by the Jamaican Debating Competition. Let's go back live to the debate competition here.
The Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote. And if you're just joining us, welcome. We now invite Janet Silvera to start this segment with a question for Team JLP.
Thank you. Team JLP, millions of dollars in recurrent or ad hoc funding are channeled yearly to MPs and not councillors. Should there be a significant reorientation in funding allocation to councillors to give them supreme responsibility and accountability for grassroots underground issues such as bush clearing, road patching, and so on?
Well, funding comes from different sources, and there are designated funds that comes to the municipal corporations in the form of the parochial revenue fund. Now, members of parliament also, they have to serve people. So in every case, members of parliament basically serves the same people. Now, what is interesting is that members of parliament, they cannot spend the funds themselves. The funds have to go through an agency. So in many respects, you find that funds that is allocated to a member of parliament, it is still spent through the municipal corporations. So the funds that are available from the taxpayers of Jamaica under the Jamaica Labour Party, we are accountable in respect to all those funds, whether through members of parliament, whether through what comes to the municipal corporations directly. We are accountable. We have shown to the Jamaican people, unlike the PNP, where in Manchester, at Manchester Municipal Corporation, over $400 million has been missing, and the PNP, up to today, has not accounted for those funds. The deputy mayor had to resign. Over in Hanover, the accountability in relation to their funds, they had issues. The mayor had to resign. No JLP-led municipal corporation has found themselves in that situation. The funds come, the funds go where it is needed, in the service of the people, fixing roads, doing verge cleaning, doing things in the service of Jamaicans.
Team PNP, your rebuttal?
I'm glad you went there, because if you look at the corruption index, it has skyrocketed under the GLP. So let us address that. 7.5 years to date, not one internal audit report. 7.5 years to date, no internal audit has been done. How can you then talk about corruption? Your mayor of Centre had to resign. Your mayor at Centre had to resign. The GLP-led municipality has not ordered commission any audit. The Manchester Municipal Corporation, under the leadership of a PNP mayor, ordered that audit. What was the findings of the audit? 4 civil servants went to jail. Not one member of the PNP was marred in any controversy as it relates to those. Let me come back to the Kingston Municipal Corporation. An IG report has been buried, as you have buried local government in 86. You have transformed it in 86 from what it was to cemetery. So we were mere undertakers. You can't, with a straight face, talk to the Jamaican people about corruption. I beg you not. I am also prepared to say
Thank
to you and to put
so
it.
much. But I think the question, Janet, it had to do with how the monies are allocated and with respect neither of you have answered the question. Do
Right.
you believe that the money should be allocated differently? So, Team PNP, I will go with you first, and then Team PNJLP, I will, you
Would
have
you like me to ask it over?
Sure.
Okay, so the money, we see a lot of money being channeled yearly to MPs and not councillors. Should there be a significant reorientation in funding allocation to councillors to give them supreme responsibility and accountability for grassroots on-the-ground issues such as clearing of the bushing, road patching, etc.?
The adequacy of resources is always going to be a challenge. How funds are allocated, however, between the office of the Member of Parliament and that of the parish councils, we do not necessarily see a conflict, because in fact you have to recall that divisions makes up constituencies, and so there must be a dovetailing of the works that we carry out in the interest of the people. And so while an argument can be made as to whether or not from a budgetary standpoint there may be a propping up, you have to understand that you have supplementals that go to the Ministry of Local Government during the year from time to time, but you do, as my colleague said earlier, have different sources from which local authorities are funded. It's
Thank
the
you
management
so much.
of...
Thank you so much, Team PNP, your rebuttal.
The country dirty. The communities are dark. Our markets are distasteful and not a place conducive to do business, or have our women sitting in muck and not having proper sanitary conveniences. Our minor water supply is in shambles. Our entombed springs are the worst they have ever been. Our garbage collection is at the very bottom. I have schools and people who have not had garbage collection for more than 1 year. The people need the services, and the local government is starved of resources. Yes, the funding must be reallocated so that local government can step up and play the role it was
Thank you so
intended
much.
to do.
We have a question now from Giovanni, and it will be directed to Team PNP.
The Opposition People's National Party has been criticizing the KCMC's building approval processes and decisions given recent controversial developments. But in January 2022, the PNP councillors at the KCMC resigned from the Building and Planning Committee because of what they call its lack of integrity, transparency, and efficacy. Now, how do we take the opposition seriously in its criticisms when PNP councillors have been refusing to do their jobs to provide oversight on this important committee?
Let me take that. I was the first member of the PNP to resign from the committee. Why? Immediately after a building meeting, I got a call to announce to me that I am blocking a developer. Similarly, a colleague of mine on the other side got a similar call, and who had to get security. I am not going to put my life at stake for rapacious and dishonest staff members who would have seen it necessary to alert a developer that we had questioned about his or her approval. We are pro-developers, and we will support developers, but we will not be placed in the pocket of any developers. It is not about all costs. It's about to do what is right, the principle, and we will stick by that. If you notice also that since we have removed ourselves from there, look at the multiple lawsuit. Look at what the mayor said, that he's investigating himself. I've never heard that in my life. And so, yes, you could deem us reneging our responsibility, but until the state can provide sufficient security for us to do our job, I am taking the way of preserving myself and my family, not to expose myself to rapacious and cruel developers.
Just to add to that, let it be clear that in 2019, there were local and international partners who came together to formulate the building codes. Until today, no regulations have been put in place, and so they are toothless. toothless. No enforcement can be taken because you have not laid those regulations.
Thank you so much. Team JLP, your rebuttal.
Jamaica, as someone who has been on both sides of the political aisle, in this regard, I can speak with authority on this one. My friend in council is disingenuous. As a matter of fact, the person who posed the question, I may want to add that not only in 2022 did the PNP resign from the building committee, but I believe it was in 2013 or 14, while the People's National Party's administration was in office in the KCMC, the PNP also resigned from itself. The building committee resigned, yes, Jamaica, under the People's National Party. When you charged us with the responsibility to take decisions on your behalf, may I dare say that the building committee is not just about developers. The remit far extends beyond that. But if my friend would have sat in those committee meetings, he would have learned much. The reality is the checks and balances have been put in place. They speak so much about the 3 strategic laws. Those laws has assisted us to also restructure our operations so that we can effectively serve you with transparency and accountability. And yes, the issue to which my colleague alluded, the mayor of Kingston was correct. It was our internal mechanisms that detected the flaws in our system.
Thank you so much. Social media also has burning questions. Nika?
Thanks, Janella. That's so true because our question is via direct messaging from Kingston. Andrew wants to know what will be done to establish a more transparent process of awarding contracts or subcontracting government-funded jobs versus the current process by which friends and alleged dons are being awarded.
Team JLP, you have the first shot at this one.
With regards to the process of awarding contracts, each corporation has a procurement committee. No councillor chairs that procurement committee. So there is a clear and transparent process in the awarding of contracts. We have to submit a quarterly report to the Integrity Commission surrounding our contract award process. So it is a clear process. We do not, based on the process, it does not allow for this level of corruption that is being perceived by the public.
And when you look on what it is that persons have to do, so when you look in the Sunday papers, generally you will find that advertisements are put out where persons make submissions, and they have to, the applicant, persons who are making the submissions, they themselves have to satisfy certain requirements, especially when the contracts are at particular dollar values. So we have also in the internal systems, the internal auditor. So that's a check and balance that exists in relation to the award of contracts. We have the Auditor General who can step into any municipal corporation and in fact has stepped into municipal corporations to ensure that the process that is put out in respect to the award of contracts, that it complies with the laws that exist and that it is fair and transparent. And now we have the Integrity Commission. They can do the same. And when we take note that the Integrity Commissions Act was passed by the Jamaica Labour Party, we stand firm that there will be no corruption in the award of contracts or the giving of contracts to dons.
Thank you so much, Team PNP.
Let me put that to the test. Since my colleague went there, I don't intend to make this debate about her. But you start with us, and you was critical of how things were managed. For example, the mayor's personal assistant is now the procurement manager. We have not had consecutive meetings either of the accounts committee or the properties committee. We as PNP will say to the Jamaican people, our accountability, our inclusiveness will ensure that you're at the table. Let me go further. The statute declare that you should share your findings and your budget to the people for 5 years. We have not had one. The IG report has not been tabled in the commission. We are saying the most deceptive and the most dark administration is this one. And I make no apologies for it, because how dare you to talk about transparency when you have no audit report, you have no internal audit report, you have not shared the damning report from the Auditor General, neither have you shared the report from the Integrity Commission, but you're investigating yourself. I find it a clear mockery.
One of the major issues with transparency in the local government process is the systematic exclusion of people, of the community from the process. The 3 laws you spoke about entrenched in the local government process a role for citizen participation. And when you have neutered the local public accounts committee, when you have single-handedly...
And we would have to end it right there because it's now time for a break. No, it's not time for the break? No. Oh, I was told it's not time for the break. I'm sorry about that. Janet has the next question for the People's National Party, for the Jamaica Labour Party, I'm sorry.
You sure? Again?
That's what I was told.
Okay. Thank you very much. Should councillor candidates have minimum academic qualifications? Please expound.
Let me say this. I believe that councillors should have certain characteristics. We are in a democratic process. And the fact that a person does not have a PhD does not disqualify one from participating in the democratic process. You have many persons who represent communities well. And I will start with my father. My father served as a councillor for many years in Montego Bay. And he became the mayor. He rose to be the president of the Senate. And my father did not have a tertiary education. But many persons would not understand that because he was eloquent in his speech. He performed with integrity. He performed in the service of the people. And if the person has that characteristic, go out to do service beyond what was said by Eve, my friend. Put your life on the line if needs be, because you put yourself in that position, asking the people to vote for you to serve them. Do not remove yourself from the process. We saw that in St. James when 2 PNP councillors abandoned the people after they were elected. So, qualification, integrity, honesty, emotional intelligence, and a seriousness about working for the people. And I can commit that the candidates that the Jamaica Labour Party has on its slate going into this local government election are persons with that type of characteristic.
Academics, we're stickler for education, and academics is important, no doubt. But we also believe that experiential learning has value. And so we will not discount someone
Thank you so
for
much,
the absence of
TMPM.
academics.
We about to take over this place. We going national.
Welcome to paradise.
Served at the local government level for 9 years, and I've now served at the parliamentary level for some 16 years. I'm very clear that there must be a certain level of academic achievement to be able to read some of the bills that we are presented with, to be able to assist with legislation, to be able to help your people and to guide them in the right path. Yes, on-the-ground learning is important. Yes, your passion for people is critical, because no matter how much education you have, if you don't love people like them on that side, you won't go very far. Because when you talk about deception. It was my friend in the last debate who said that the most deceptive government was the Jamaica Labour Party government, who also said that she is no part of the deception team. So I want to know is that she has sold out to the deception, because tonight I know that the People's National Party remains that party that is going to field a cadre of strong, effective, and hardworking councillors who will have the minimum qualification that is required to get the job done.
Competencies is important. I want to clarify a point that was made by my colleague. No two PNP councillors deserted the council. That's not true. There were extraneous circumstances that we know that. So no two PNP councillors deserted the council.
Thank you so much. Giovanni has the next question for Team PNP.
This is somewhat of a follow-up from the question from our viewer Andrew, who asked a question about contracts and tendering. A February 2020 implemented a contract. Now the direct contracting procurement procedures was applied rather than the limited tender procurement procedures. Now, what policies are being put in place to root out this long-standing practice that facilitates nepotism and cronyism in local government?
You know, one of the things that we have agreed as a team that we will do is to publish our books in the newspaper, so the people of Jamaica can be a part of what happens in the local authorities. You must be able to move along with us and see where your tax dollar is being spent. We are going to put all the checks and balances in place to ensure that the people of Jamaica, through participatory democracy, come on board and hold us all accountable by allowing our PDCs, our CDCs, our community-based organizations to be a part of the accountability process. They must know where we are spending their money. They must be able to ask questions, and they must be able to get the answers. We are committed to doing this.
We are further committed to ensure that the public is integral in what we do. And so they will be at the table to have oversight about how we apportion things. And that is critical as per the statute. Section 30D set out clearly how we manage resources at the local level. What we are not able to do is to guarantee that the administration to my right would allow it to happen. For 5 years, they have not engaged the public. For 5 years, we have not had an approved budget from our parent ministry. We are guaranteeing in our contract with the people that those become the norm.
I want to reinforce the point that is being made here. Every time this point comes up, my colleagues laugh. My colleagues to my right, I'm referring to, they laughed at the point of citizens' participation. It is very important to hold the parish council accountable. We will reinstate the local public accounts committee to give some insights into what the budgetary process is at the local government level.
Rebuttal?
Thank you very much. I'd just like to explain to my colleague why we are laughing. We are laughing at the ridiculous arguments that are coming from that side. You are all over the place.
Absolutely.
In answering the question, though, Hanover Municipal Corporation, we are aware of all the things that have transpired there. The best of systems can be in place, but when you have corrupt persons managing those systems, then that is when you have these problems. A mayor in Hanover has had to resign because she gave a contract, a PNP mayor at the time, gave a contract to a family member to buy a fridge for her mother. If that is not corruption, I don't know what is corruption. So we have the systems in place, but we have the corrupt persons on that side managing those systems and manipulating them. And that is one of the problems. They are over there. All they are speaking to is lies and deception. And they are answering no questions. I want to ask Jamaica a question. Would you replace Desmond McKenzie with Natalie Nita Garvey?
Absolutely.
I'm sure the answer is no.
because they are over there just waffling and waffling.
Every day of the week.
They look are also
So,
co-opted.
question. Are you going to put in place to root out nepotism and cronyism? So are you saying, therefore, that you don't intend to implement any?
Madam Moderator, is that when you look in a municipal corporation, the systems are there, the policies are there. As I went down, we have the...
Thank you so much. We have some questions now from social media. Nika?
Thanks, Janella. Is the AC still on down there? Now, this question is from Instagram. What strategies will be implemented to manage the budget to ensure fiscal responsibility within local government? And that...
We're going to Team PNP. You get the first go.
Thank you. The tree strategic law is clear as to how we manage proceeds. We will stick to the role of the three strategic laws. One, we will have public and private person on our team to ensure oversight. The funding that comes in cannot be willingly apportioned. For example, we talk about lies and deception. Let's examine that. The current mayor of the Kingston and St. Andrews Municipal Corporation, his procurement officer was his personal assistant. Refute that. Secondly, and most importantly, you're talking about cronyism. A contract was awarded to bring carpet for the Ward Theatre, which requires a bond to be placed. To date, $42 million later, no bond has been presented. Let's talk about corruption. Let's talk about cronyism, because we live it at the KCMC.
I don't know. I'm flabbergasted that this team could really speak about corruption, and I'm floored. The truth is, no PNP minister of government has ever gone to prison. We can't talk about it for selling farm work. None. Let's talk about it. If people are not going to be 100, and we're never going to be able to hold every single person accountable, but the systems have to be in place so that the people can judge us and so that we can hold people accountable. It is absolutely ludicrous to think that every person is going to be as honest as we'd like them to be. It is, however, clear to me, no? It is, however, very clear to me.
Thank you so much.
That the youth
Team
car
JLP,
scandal,
your response.
the education, Ministry of Education.
Thank you so much. Team JLP, your response.
Jamaica, I know that for a moment you wondered whether or not we were in the same room and you enjoyed that moment of deflection. But the question was about the policies that would be implemented. Team JLP, yes, Team JLP, because that's your team, Jamaica. We intend to engage. Then we perform based on that engagement with you, and we communicate with you to ensure that what we're doing is in sync what you intend for us to do. My colleague on the other side keeps harping about the movement of a member of staff in a municipality. Lateral and even upward mobility in organizations is standard. In fact, we should encourage them. And so I'd also like to apprise you, Jamaica, that there's something called an establishment committee. That's the committee that is responsible for ratifying employees. It is a bipartisan committee. So that explains. This is the moment for amazing grace, where I say to my friends, I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. So no, it's not deception. Experience teaches wisdom. And one day I pray that wisdom will visit upon my friends and they will join us on this side as we continue the sensible management of the business of the people of Jamaica. We are the administration that is committed to building you and to building your communities. How do we do that? Through engagement, through performance, and through communication.
I would just like to touch on something that was said earlier. My colleagues on that side, they obviously believe in plagiarism. They spoke to a divisional fund. Now, this is something the Jamaica Labour Party started in 2010 under the Bruce Golding administration. We got it for 2 years. It was $300,000 per year. Fast forward to 2016, Desmond Mackenzie came up with the municipal social assistance program. We now get back to school, we get housing assistance, we have a secretary and burial
Thank
assistance.
you so much,
It's the
Mr.
same fund.
Crary. Thank you so much, Mr. Crary. We will now take a real break now. It's time for a short break. It's getting hot in here. We invite you to please stay tuned.
The local government debates 2024 are
Please stand by. We're going to take a break ourselves. Please stand by. Don't go anywhere. Please stand by. We're going to take a break. Do not go anywhere at all. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back too.
I got arrested a few times. During the 60s, I went to jail 40 times. Since I've been in Congress, I've been arrested another 5 times. And I'm probably going to get arrested again for something. I'm not suggesting that any of you should go out and get arrested. But when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, stand up and say something. Do something. I gave a little blood on that bridge in Selma 53 years ago. I almost died. Some of my friends and colleagues were murdered in Mississippi and other places. I'm not asking any of you to give any blood. I'm just asking you to go and vote like you never voted before. We have to vote. The vote is the most powerful nonviolent instrument or tool we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. Use it. Go out and vote. Let's go out and vote.
You keep on talking about Keith Clark. I'm just want to say, if he never in a business, me not talk about Mr. Clark no more. His nephew is Nigel Clark.
Hold on, you know why I talk about Keith Clark? Because I'm to me, or you member of my family.
And Jeffrey, me agree. But if Nigel Clark not care how Rocky them could have killed him father by linking him with the Tivoli strongman. Me look George and spend no time on that. It means them all form a big boy club and them will sacrifice somebody. And I'm not going to be the sacrifice.
The people of this country must know that the Prime Minister of Jamaica hugging up members of the military because he has an agenda.
But that act did not do what it's supposed to do in terms of preserving what.
Them like them friend and who them mother and them papa and them granny did vote for. Tradition politics them a vote for. Me vote for Jamaica. I'm in love, freedom, and happiness and goodness. Me no like PNP, me no like GLP, me like Jamaicans. And Jamaicans not playing that. They're playing PNP and GLP. Half of the country, 3/4 of the country are PNP and GLP at them cause all the way are going to stay with we. Cause we no want get with
More than rice and chicken back one, a better day. Rice and chicken back 2 dear you, just like the next.
Janet Silvera to start this segment with a question for Team PNP.
Thank you. Team PNP, several municipal divisions have been without councillors because they have died. Do you back a legislative fix to force local government by-elections within 3 to 6 months of a councillor dying or leaving office otherwise? Say why.
And this Jamaica Labour Party would want you to believe that they believe in local government, when in fact, the 2016 amendments would have clearly spoken to the election being held after 4 years. Yet, for 7 years and 3 months, 4 postponements later, we have had counselors who have died, counselors who have migrated, and counselors who are waiting to retire because they're burnt out and can't leave. And the fact of the matter is, if we are not able to fix that, and we will, because we will lay those regulations within the first 100 days of being in office, because we believe in local government and we will make it happen. It cannot be that we want to continue with the uncertainty of an election day, because it causes chaos. It causes unnecessary delays in our businesses. And we want to ensure that we are the government who will fix it, and we will.
Commitment to local government is not relevant to my colleague. And I say this, I make the point. When the question was posed about their own views with the difference between funding for a member of parliament and funding for councillors, they waffled. We have no difficulty because we understand the demarcation between central government and local government. And that is why we are saying in our contract to the Jamaican people that we are going for 2% of the central government budget to finance or underwrite the services that the people deserve, which they are not getting. And so a PNP administration has said, and we'll repeat, we will ask for 2% of central government budget to finance local government.
The truth is, they continue to say they're spending more, but they are
Thank
delivering
you so
far
much,
less.
Team JLP. Your rebuttal.
You know, a comment was made by my colleague. Can you replace Desmond McKenzie with Nita Garvey? And the answer clearly is no, because she does not know that there exists already in the legislation the issue that was posed the premise of the question. Now, when you talk about delays, they have no moral authority to speak on that issue. They delayed local government elections on three occasions for political expediency. Labour Party, yes, we also caused a delay in the elections, not caused by us, but we had COVID, never seen before pandemic, and that contributed to a delay in the elections. And we move forward in relation to the delays when we had to look on lives and livelihoods. They speak about the general election. Well, let us give you the answer to that. Because in that pandemic, which affected people, affected the country in a serious way, $70 billion was lost. We had to have a mandate so that the government could make the hard decisions that was needed to take us through the COVID crisis.
A follow-up question to Team PNP.
Yes. Is the PNP trying to say to us then that you have never had a councillor that has left office and you have kept that space unattended for months, maybe years? Is that what the PNP
No,
is
the
trying to say?
PNP is definitely not trying to say that. But we did come together in 2016 and agree in law that this would not continue. We agreed in law. And when you talk about deception, there it is. And tonight, it seems to me that they come for me particularly. So if it's me you come for, let me tell you this. My service is to people and for the people. And the truth is, when you keep a division without representation for so many years, you deprive them of the basic necessities. You deprive them of key deliverables, key services to make their lives better. And that is what you have succeeded in doing. You have failed the people of those divisions. You have failed the people of Jamaica, and we will make the change.
Time come for an end to mockeries and phrases. Councillor Phillips, when you go back to August Town, ask Dada.
All right,
Time
so
come for an
Team
end to mockeries and
JLP has
phrases.
45 seconds to respond or to rebut.
Let me say this. As I said earlier, 2 councillors in St. James abandoned their post by not turning up for 3 consecutive council meetings. At 3 months, they missed the general council meeting. Now, what happens in a situation like that? And that is where we are confident that what we have in place with civil society, the parish development committees, the CDCs, representation of communities is not done only by a person who is elected. Representation of communities is much broader than that. And we have engaged PDCs in respect to those communities that
Thank you
fell in
so
that
much,
situation in
sir.
St. James.
Thank you so much. Giovanni has the next question to Team JLP.
In the 2016 local government debates, Desmond McKenzie in this very room said that, quote, discussions are well advanced to make Negril into a municipality. It's been close to 8 years and there has been no significant progress on this. When, if at all, is this going to happen?
With regards to other municipalities, the Prime Minister would be on record stating that the government is looking at a municipality in Negril. Negril straddles 2 parishes, Westmoreland and Hanover. And the consultations in Negril, persons there would like to see Negril have their own municipality. I'll give an example. A brand new market was to be constructed in Negril. The Westmoreland Municipal Corporation was to do the relocation of a few vendors in order to clear the land to accommodate the new market. To date, the money is in place and the market has not yet started. Had Negril had its own municipality, I am sure this would not have been the case. So yes, the government is looking at other municipalities. It is something we have under active consideration. We believe in participatory governance, and we will continue to consult with the people on these issues, and we will, at the appropriate time, these decisions will be taken.
And that confirms the position, contrary to what has been said by our opponents from across the floor, that this administration of the Jamaica Labour Party looks on dealing with situations that impact upon particular spaces, that we have consultation, and that discussion is taking place in relation to Negril, and as my friend has said, in relation to other areas in other parishes. But we have to have the discussion at the base so that the people are coming along with us. And it is not that we are doing from a top down to impose something on them that they would not appreciate or understand.
All right, so Giovanni has a follow-up question, but I will allow the PNP to rebut first.
You mean like the action in trying to push Portmore into becoming a parish for your own political expedience? Or the action that you are now taking because you're trying to say that you are going to do all of these things by promising Jamaica what you have not done in 8 years to do them tomorrow morning? The truth is, we pioneered the first directly elected mayor. We have shown you how it is done. We have committed ourselves, worked through the process, consulted with the citizens, and made it happen. And we'll make it happen again. And not just for Negril, but for many other areas. We have done it already, and we'll do it again.
In addition, I just want to make this point again, unequivocally clear. Here, my colleagues across the floor speaking about participatory governance. I hear my colleagues speaking about the work that they have been doing with the PDCs, the parish development committees, and the CDCs. These are all platitudes. Nothing is happening on the ground in relation to citizens participating in the local government process. Your own poll, the recent national polls that put out show that a significant majority of people do not know what the role of their councillors are. They do not even know who their mayors are. And you are here talking about participatory governance. Every single time I raise the point, you giggled, you quipped. And now you're saying that you're
Thank
supporting
you so
the
much.
SDC,
Giovanni
supporting the
has a
PDC.
follow-up
You have-
question.
All right. So, with respect, Mr. Sinclair, Mr. Query, you're both saying in terms of the consultations are taking place or should be taking place with stakeholders, not a top-down approach, but the stakeholders from Negril have indicated for more than a decade actually, that they want to be a municipality. Mr. Mackenzie in 2016 said that discussions are, and I'm quoting him directly here, discussions are well advanced. The question is what timeline, when will it happen? When will it be made into a municipality?
Discussions that would have ensued, as you referenced 10 years ago, would not necessarily in all its facets be relevant now. And so we are an administration that is consistent in remaining relevant and ensuring that we consult the people in a timely manner in order to realize things in a proficient way. The discussion surrounding making municipalities of Negril and other spaces is a work in progress. We are definitely not against making a municipality of these spaces, but we have to make sure that those spaces are properly retrofitted so that it can serve its purpose. The model in Portmore had been a pilot for over 20 odd years. We are not averse to directly elected mayor, but that model has not proven to be the best. My friend has said that they have shown us how it's done. And if that's how you show us how it's done by a failed model, then certainly it is important for us to engage in the requisite consultation.
Thank
It
you
is
so
this
much, Team
administration.
PNP. You have 45 seconds for your rebuttal.
Governance by announcement is what is typical of the GLP. Let us test it. $40 million was pledged to do road works. There are 50% or more of those constituencies who are yet to receive those allocations over a year. Again, we were promised housing allowance, housing grants. None of that happens. People in my own division continue to press, Councillor, when are we going to get the housing grant? It is missing in action, as is the minister. My colleague would like you to believe that they are consulting with the public.
And
There's
we
no
have
such consultation.
a question now. We have a question now from social media. Nika?
Yes. So this question is from Facebook. In the case where 60% of the population abstains from voting, as seen in previous elections, would you interpret this as a collective rejection of both the PNP and the JLP? And how do you plan to remedy it?
Okay, we're going to ask PNP, Team PNP, to respond first.
This I wouldn't interpret as a rejection. What I've seen happening, especially at the local government process, is a systematic exclusion of citizens from the process. And again, that is where the politics starts, at the local level. And if it is the case that the institutions that were established within the local government process has been dismantled by the Jamaica Labour Party, from the National Association of Parish Development Committees to the Parish Development Committees themselves, SDC being neutered, community development committees being hijacked, you have no other result than people becoming disenchanted with the process. Time come for citizens' participation in local government. All municipalities under PNP administration, come post February 26, will ensure that the people, the citizen, remains or returns to the center of this process. We have done it before. We will do it again. These principles were outlined in the Reform Act. It is time for us to get the people back to the center of the local government process. That, I think, will enhance engagement in the political process and bodes well for voter turnout ultimately.
All politics is local. And when the people don't feel that you are spending their money in the right way, because there is no system of transparency or accountability, or there is a great level of corruption and arrogance as being seen by this Jamaica Labour Party government, then it only encourages them to say it's for somebody else. We must get back to a place where people see government at work on their behalf.
Thank you so much, Team JLP. Your response?
Jamaica, apathy is real. We understand your frustration. No, we don't think it's a rejection. I think it's your message to us as political representatives on either side of the aisle that you are fed up with low performance. You are fed up sometimes with the lack of accountability. So we understand that apathy is real. It's real the world over. So how do we plan to remedy that? The Jamaica Labour Party is committed to ensuring that we regain and sustain your trust through performance, through engagement, through communication. Yes, Jamaica, we understand the frustration. We are building for you and your communities. We intend to ensure that as we do what we're supposed to do in service to you, we keep you informed, we keep you engaged.
I would like to address something that was said by my colleague over there about the recent poll. In that recent poll that he referred to, there was no PNP mayor in the top probably 6. So it shows that the councils led by the PNP are not really very recognized. The mayors are not very well known because they do very little. Yours truly proved to be the top mayor. So it shows that PNP mayors, as I said, are not known. They do very little. The municipalities they lead tend to be very corrupt. I want to also address something quickly about markets. We, the Jamaica Labour Party, it was mentioned there about markets. Port Mariano has a brand new market. We have renovated more markets in the last 8 years than has ever been done under the PNP administration. The Yalas market was leased by the PNP.
I don't mean to interrupt you, sir, but guess what? It's time for a break. So it's our third and final break, and we invite our
More than rice and chicken back one, the better day. Rice and chicken back 2 dear you, just like it's expensive. No problem, a $300 pound for chicken back. Man thing will be a need to develop. We need things. 13,000 to a little bit. Mr. Brogan, I want thing I want to tell them boss. I want to run my business and I want to pay them tax like the China them. That's all. That's all I want to do, boss. I want to run a business and I pay them tax like the China them. Me live on now, then a Dr. Chang run up there and nothing up there. The China man live to independence. They been live for years. Only when election time he come around. Dear. No. See Mr. Chang there. Mr. Chang, me live a paradise and know me. The place need police station at Uga. No.
But I tell you this, we're not going to stand by and say those who are corrupt go unpunished. We expect arrests to be made. Low officials forget arrests. Connected party people forget arrest. We expect the police to do their job. We expect transparency. We expect accountability. And we will not rest until justice is done by the people of Jamaica. Them like them friend and who them mother and them papa and them granny did vote for. Tradition politics them a vote for. Me vote for Jamaica. I'm in love, freedom, and happiness and goodness. Me no like PNP, me no like JLP, me like Jamaicans. And Jamaicans not playing that. They're playing PNP and JLP. Half of the country, 3/4 of the country are PNP and JLP at them cause all the way are going to stay with we. Cause when we want to get with
I got arrested a few times. During the 60s, I went to jail 40 times. Since I've been in Congress, I've been arrested another 5 times. And I'm probably going to get arrested again for something. I'm not suggesting that any of you should go out and get arrested, but when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, stand up and say something, do something. I gave a little blood on that bridge in Selma 53 years ago. I almost died. Some of my friends and colleagues were murdered in Mississippi and other places. I'm not asking any of you to give any blood. I'm just asking you to go and vote like you never voted before. We have to vote. The vote is the most powerful nonviolent instrument or tool we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. Use it. Go out and vote. Let's go out and vote. Go and vote. I got arrested a few times. During the 60s, I went to jail 40 times. Since I've been in Congress, I've been arrested another 5 times. And I'm probably going to get arrested again for something. I'm not suggesting that any of you should go out and get arrested. But when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, stand up and
Presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote. And if you're just joining us, welcome. We invite Janet Silvera to start this final segment with a question for Team PNP.
Thank you. Team PNP, there are perennial complaints about deplorable parochial roads. How will you ensure the improvement and maintenance of these roads?
Thank you for that question. Let me start by saying the JLP voted against additional resources to fix roads. My colleague was sitting in the hall at the time. Our roads are in the worst condition ever. And it is the reason why the PNP administration will seek that 2% of central government budget to be able to provide the service that the Jamaican people so richly desire. What we will do is to be inclusive, to get those persons at the table so they can participate. Participatory democracy eluded them and will continue to do so. What you're hearing is a lot of fluff. But we are committed through legislation, through participatory democracy, to get persons on board so we can solve the problem of poor infrastructure.
The Jamaican people deserve much better. We have been struggling for a number of years with poor parochial roads. Our farmers, our workers, people even in our towns have to be wearing one shoes come out the yard and one shoes to come out of the gate. It's a terrible situation for all. The next PNP-led administration is going to ensure that, one, we remove the corruption that takes place in contracts and contract allocations so that there's more funding available to spend on those roads. We are committing ourselves to fix scheme roads and have them brought onto the roster of municipal roads, all scheme roads that were built before 1995. Because people in scheme roads pay their taxes and are law-abiding citizens as well. We are committed to finding new technology and new ways of building our roads, because our roads, as it is now, are not built to last. When
Thank
you build
so
a
much,
road,
Team JLP. Your rebuttal?
Let me address, first of all, the matter of corruption. The corruption perception index was highest under the People's National Party, and the most recent one is lowest under the Jamaica Labour Party. So let me just address that first. The question was about roads. With regards to roads, Prior to 2016, I believe the Minister of Local Government provided central government provided to local government, I believe, a sum of 19 million to do roads, apart from what we get from our parochial revenue fund. Last year, Minister Nigel Clark provided local government with over $100 million to do roads. I earlier mentioned the Spark program. Spark is $40 billion over 2 years to do community roads. My friends on that side keep speaking platitudes. We have an actual program that will start in April. It is not a promise. The funds are in place and it will start in April. They have told us nothing about what they will do.
Okay, you know, when you look in St. James, I can give you communities after community. Providence, we have roads built, not even rehabilitated, roads built, Barrett Town, going through to Salt Spring, and we now have super highways.
All right, thank you so much. Giovanni has the final question for tonight, and it will go to Team JLP.
In the 2016 local government debate, the now mayor of Mandeville, Donovan Mitchell, conceded that there is a 70 to 30% ratio of money spent on administrative costs versus delivering service. In other words, the lion's share of taxpayers' money goes into administration and not on doing the actual work. Given this established inefficiency, how do you convince Jamaicans that our local government structure as is shouldn't be abolished?
You know, I don't know. Well, Donovan Mitchell was the person who was the mayor of the Manchester Municipal Corporation when $400 million went missing. Now, I want to refute that position because I am in the St. James Municipal Corporation. And in St. James, our funds that we get from the designated source, which is the parochial revenue fund, it goes into road repairs, road construction, verge cleaning, drain cleaning. So we have been putting out the majority of our funds in ensuring service delivery to the people of St. James. And when we have to be bolstered, we apply to the Equalization Fund for special projects to improve our road conditions and to do other special projects. Funds can be obtained through applications made to the Equalization Fund. There are other external sources beyond the municipal corporation. Through Tourism Enhancement Fund, you have roads that have been fixed, roads that take you to commercial and to persons' homes. That's a source of funding. So I disagree with Mayor Mitchell. He may have his particular situation. Their municipal corporations operate in a different way, but then I understand when he says that it seems that they wish to pocket instead of doing service delivery to the people.
There has been increased allocation to councillors as a consequence of the ministry giving a greater portion of funding to local authorities. And so, yes, Jamaica, your councillors are able to address your community roads. And as my colleague said, with the advent of the Spark program, you will see a bolstering.
Thank you so much, Team PNP. Your rebuttal?
The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, local government is far too important to treat with scant regard. It is critical that we are able to allocate funding so that our communities can get the services they deserve. Let's take a look at the NSWMA, where little over $4 billion is allocated to the NSWMA. But just over 50% of that is actually going towards public cleansing. That has to be rearranged. The people need to get the services they deserve. It is important that when your person says that they've bought 50 new trucks, you can tell me you've bought 50 new trucks and you can make the pretty announcements. But the truth is, 50 of them are here and I'm not seeing any difference in the delivery of the service. The country is just as dirty or even more dirty because the poor management style of this Jamaica Labour Party has seen more money but less services to the people of Jamaica. It's critical as well that our markets be modernized and that the monies come to the market so that there be greater ventilation, and that the 90% of the users and consumers of the market who are women can have proper sanitary conveniences and can be going to the market in dignity, and I can go there and buy my food safely. We have to reallocate the funding so that more is spent on delivering the services to the people of Jamaica.
We have so many more questions to be asked, but it's now time for closing statements. And Team PNP, please go first.
Thank you. I speak to the Jamaican people, and I'm saying that we are here to have a contract with the Jamaican people to deliver. We're not about fluff, and I'm going to use a balanced scorecard to demonstrate the failure on that side. Let's take your garbage collection. They failed miserably. Let's take your roads. They are in the worst condition ever. They failed miserable. Let's take mitigation, our resources for mitigation. It's non-existent. They failed miserably. Let's take health. During the COVID pandemic, a lot of money was spent. Your mayor had issues with allotting resources to a friend, cronyism. You failed miserably. It is clear that you have failed. The Jamaican people who will act as your selector will drop you from the team because time come for a change. Time come for a PNP administration that have done the research, understand the misery index, understand the nuance index, and will find the resources necessary to underwrite the cost of service delivery that the Jamaican people demand. I thank you.
Team JLP, please go ahead with your closing statement.
Jamaica, for 8 years, you have witnessed and yes, experienced consistency and efficiency in dealing with your local governance affairs by the Jamaica Labour Party's administration. Yes, Jamaica, the JLP has been building for you and for your communities. Whether you're PNP, JLP, no P at all, or you cross the floor like me, all of us can admit that this administration has consistently looked out for the vulnerable among us, increased and significant investment in our infirmaries.
WGU's flat rate tuition at your pace formatted, generous transfer policy allow you to earn a degree in less time for less money. Pay about half the cost of the national average for a bachelor's degree. Learn more and get started at wgu.edu.
To the people by the former late Prime Minister Michael Manley. Yes, Jamaica, it pained my heart to tell you it was taken away, privatized by the People's National Party. And you know what? The law firm that dealt with that privatization had association to the current president of the People's National Party. Jamaica, call your neighbor, call your family, tell them on the 26th of February, we go voting for Labour. Vote for consistency. Vote for good road network. Vote for performance. Vote for ensuring that your tax dollars are spent in your interest. If you listen to my friends on the other side, you would think they're brand new. The PNP would have you believe that they are somehow the guardians.
Thank you so much. And that concludes the first of 2 local government debates organized by the Jamaica Debates Commission with JN Group, Petrojam, the National Democratic Institute, Lasco Chin Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, and Miss Birdie. Join us again on Saturday, February 17 at 9 p.m. for the debate focusing on local government at work. And to view the debates again, please go to our website at www.jamaicadebatescommission.com. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Janella Precious. Pleasant viewing.
This is where we come to the end of another program for tonight. I want to say thanks to everyone for coming on. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for making this platform a part of your daily life, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Until you hear my voice again, may God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Have a great night, everyone. See you all tomorrow.
I got arrested a few times. During the 60s, I went to jail 40 times. Since I've been in Congress, I've been arrested another 5 times. And I'm probably going to get arrested again for something. I'm not suggesting that any of you should go out and get arrested. But when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, stand up and say something. Do something. I gave a little blood on that bridge in Selma 53 years ago. I almost died. Some of my friends and colleagues were murdered in Mississippi and other places. I'm not asking any of you to give any blood. I'm just asking you to go and vote like you never voted before. We have to vote. The vote is the most powerful nonviolent instrument or tool we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. Use it. Go out and vote. Let's go out and
Go
and vote. Go and vote.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk.